Freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome one and all, you're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Thank you for tuning in. Today is Sunday, August 4th, 2019. This is episode number 218 of What on Earth is Happening. We have a great show lined up for you here today. As always, we are going to be talking about the tarot as a revelation, the major arcana of the tarot as a revelation and a main indicator of both personal progress in consciousness and human progress as a society, as a species. This is part 2 of this topic. I'm going to be closing up this topic today, and then we're going to be taking your calls for the duration of the show. I have a whole lot of housekeeping announcements because there's a lot going on here at What on Earth is Happening around this time. So I want to jump right over to my slides and let you know about some pretty exciting stuff that's taking place. Before we do that, just give me one moment. Okay. All right, we could jump over to the slides. All right, folks, the big announcement came through this week. I'm finally going to be interviewed by Alex Jones himself on InfoWars, on the main InfoWars program. So pretty glad to see that finally manifesting. This was originally scheduled for this past Thursday, but there was a scheduling conflict with Alex Jones and his producer, which is no problem. This stuff happens all the time. So they bumped me until Monday. And that's actually worked out for the better because we got a more of a timeline to promote for the show on my website and on social media. So this is going to be happening this Monday, August 5th, 2019. And my time slot on the show is 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time. You can watch live at infowars.com/show. And I will be recording and then posting my interview segment on the show on my website at whatonearthishappening.com in the news section following the show. So thanks to Alex and his producers for bringing me on. And I think it's going to be a great show. And from what I currently understand, the main topic of discussion will be natural law. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So tune in on Monday, August 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central to hear me on the main InfoWars broadcast. That being said, I want to just briefly step out of my slides and go to the website. I have this up on the homepage of the website. And I just want to play this this video for you to show you when Alex, if we could just make it full screen, if we could, I'll show you when Alex rescheduled me on the main show and announced that I was going to be on this coming week. Just switch over to the laptop full screen. Thank you. Here we go.
Here's what I'm going to do. I had a very interesting guest who I've seen some of his videos online about natural law named Mark Passio coming on, but I decided to move him to next week. I apologize because I'd forgotten that I'm going to be on a workcation tomorrow, taking care of some new projects. So that kind of scrambled up what we're going to do, but so he'll be on next week.
Okay, so, it was just a scheduling conflict, and I'm definitely going to be on Monday at 2 p.m. So that's the big announcement regarding the InfoWars broadcast. So we can switch over back to the slides, and I'll continue with housekeeping announcements. So, sorry about that. I had a wrong transition there. Let me just cut that out. Okay. So, I'll be a guest speaker, featured speaker actually at Anarchapulco 2019. This year, this is the inaugural, Anarchadelphia event, not Anarchapulco. Anarchadelphia is taking place September 13th through 15th, 2019. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, September 13th, 14th, and 15th. I will be speaking on September 14th. I'll be the final speaker on Saturday, September 14th, and my main presentation will be entitled The Sacred Gift of Anger. The Sacred Gift of Anger, and it's going to be a very unique and special presentation. It's really shaping up. I think people are going to be very happy and impressed with the presentation I'm going to deliver on the topic of what I call the sacred gift of anger, an emotion that many people think should be purged and not felt or experienced, but something that is absolutely critically essential toward truly guiding us on a path to truth, enlightenment, higher consciousness, and freedom, if we're being honest with ourselves. And I'll be talking about what the right usage and channeling of the emotion of anger is during this presentation, this one-time only presentation at Anarchadelphia 2019. If you use promo code Passio at checkout at anarchadelphia.com, you will get $5% off your ticket sale, and 5% of the ticket sale will be donated directly to What on Earth is Happening. So if you're going to the Anarchadelphia conference this year, use promo code Passio at checkout for that discount. I will be giving an all-day workshop at the end of Anarchadelphia on Monday, September 16th, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Poppy's Italian Restaurant at 3120 South 20th Street in Philadelphia. The topic is Teaching Natural Law. This is a seminar, an all-day seminar geared toward people that want to go out and actually teach natural law to others. So tickets for this all-day workshop are $120. They are available at anarchadelphia.com in the tickets and workshop section. So that's the announcements for Anarchadelphia. I think it's shaping up to be a really great conference with phenomenal speakers. Please go up to anarchadelphia.com and check out the great speaker list. It's a who's who of speakers in the freedom movement. Okay, so before we jump into our topic for today, which is a revelation of the Tarot's major arcana as a revelation of personal and societal progress, part 2. I'm going to wrap up the symbolism of the major arcana and get into a little bit about what it really means for us as an entire society. But before we do that, I want to jump over to my laptop once again and show you a couple of other things that are going on. So let me jump into my web browser. We have finally put up the new t-shirt designs in the What on Earth is Happening donation gifts area. So this is donation gifts of the men's t-shirts. We have a new color palette. We have the traditional black and dark heathered gray t-shirts, but we also have 3 new colors. We're doing all antiqued colors this round of shirts. So we have a beautiful antiqued red, an antiqued green, and an antiqued blue. And these are like a slightly darker heathered look. I think they look really great with the one color. And we have a brand new What on Earth is Happening shirt that is a 3-color design. I want to just show you that one real quick. This is the new What on Earth is Happening shirt design. Okay, beautiful 3-color design. And here's the back of it. It says ending slavery one mind at a time, with the earth, with radiant blue light coming out of it, and human hands breaking their shackles, breaking their chains, and then the whatonearthishappening.com web address below. I think I just want to show you this here. So let's switch over to this side camera. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful new design. I think they look great. The printing company did a great job on these. There's the back. Let me get it in there fully for you. Okay, so you can get these at What on Earth is Happening donation gifts. That's gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. So I hope people like the new shirt designs. We also have them in women's. We're doing only black in women's this time around because it seems to be the most popular color for women's t-shirts. Black seems to move the best and people like them the most. So we have the Natural Law, One Great Work, and What on Earth is Happening designs all available in women's t-shirts as well. That being said, I think that's all I really want to cover for now. I want to get back to that. If you switch back very briefly, before we go to calls, I'm going to talk about something that I posted on my own Facebook, which was a comment that went up in the Free Thought Project's community group. Okay, now I'm going to get to this actually in my whole talk on the major arcana of the tarot today, but I want to point this out to people's attention and actually show people why we're headed in the wrong direction as a society, why things are really headed south faster than I think any of us could have ever imagined. So this will be coming up a little bit later on the show, and then we'll be taking your calls. I don't think I'll be going, an entire show with the broadcast, with the actual material of the broadcast this time. So I will be taking calls toward the end of the show this time around. All right, so let's switch over. Let's go to the slides and jump right back in to the presentation. So this is a continuation of last week's show, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone should be aware of that. So this builds on what we did last week. And as always, okay, every What on Earth is Happening show, I've been saying this for the past many weeks. I'm going to continue to say it. Every single What on Earth is Happening broadcast, every show that came before it, is a prerequisite necessity to understanding the current show. So you are listening to episode number 218. No individual episode of What on Earth is Happening ever stands on its own. Every single episode is built upon the episodes that precede the current episode. So if you're looking at episode number 218, which is today's broadcast, you have 217 episodes that you should have looked at first. If you're a new viewer, I highly suggest not watching from here. I highly suggest going back to episode number 1 and listening to each episode in its entirety at your own pace, in order, without skipping around. That is the only way you're going to get the tapestry of information and understand it fully as I present the information here on the What on Earth is Happening broadcast. If you go and start skipping around or start listening at the current episode, you are not going to understand the majority of what I am talking about. You are going to be lost, confused, and in a stupor for the most part. Okay? Unless you're extraordinarily familiar with all of the material that I've talked about from other sources. So again, I'm going to highly recommend this every single week, that you do not listen to What on Earth is Happening out of order. It is a tapestry that is a very specifically engineered progression of information. That is the only way that I can put it. I very specifically geared the progression of information in a certain way to make it be able to unfold in a way that makes sense for people when they listen in order. If you listen out of order, you are doing yourself a disservice. And more likely than not, you're not going to get the most benefit of value from this broadcast. I'm just letting you know. Okay? So this particular show is a continuation from last week's. This is the first slide. It's called The Major Arcana of the Tarot. If we switch back over. The Self and the Universe Revealed in Symbol. This is part 2. So I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to the slide that I want to begin on, which is well into this presentation. So I'm going to jump ahead to where we ended off last week's broadcast on, which was an examination of the symbolism of the second half, the second 11 cards of the major arcana of the tarot deck, in relationship to the Kabbalah's tree of life symbolism, specifically what is known as the macrocosmic tree of life, meaning that this is a breakdown of the forces that are at work in the universe, not the forces at work in the individual, but the forces at work in the world in which we live. Now, of course, these are mirrors of each other. As the Hermetic principle of correspondence states, that which is above is like to that which is below, and that which is below is like to that which is above. This means that the universe and the self are self-similar. Every part of the universe, including the individual, is self-similar across all scales of existence. Okay? So the self or the soul is a reflection of the world or the universe as a whole, and vice versa. The universe and all of its parts is a reflection of the self or the soul, the individuated consciousness. This is what we have to understand that we're talking about when we're looking at the microcosmic and macrocosmic trees of life of the Kabbalah's symbolism in relationship to the major arcana of the tarot deck. So I'm going to blow through the first many cards on this arrangement that we did last week, that we looked at last week. We ended on the Death card. I did not get to the Hanged Man card or the Justice card, which are the last two cards in this arrangement of the microcosmic tree of life. So what we talked about is that this part of the tarot deck represents the world, these last 11 cards of the major arcana. Okay, and of course, at the Da'at position, which is the position of hidden knowledge, or knowledge which we have to study in depth for it to be revealed unto us and deeply understood, is the World card. This is also called in some decks the Universe card or the Aeon card. Okay, so this is card number 21, the final of the 22 cards of the major arcana, which starts with 0 and progresses from 1 to 21. We position the last 11 cards of the major arcana on the macrocosmic tree of life of the Kabbalah, with card number 21 being at the Da'at position, which is shown here circled in white. Okay, this is not one of the Sephirot of the tarot, of the Kabbalah's tree of life, I mean. Okay, this is not one of the Sephirot. This is known as Da'at, the place from which the tree grows or emerges or is emanated from. Okay, so Da'at simply means knowledge in Hebrew. Okay, so this is knowledge of the world, knowledge of the universe. Okay, now we see that when we lay the other 11 cards, other 10 cards down on the positions of their respective Sephirah on the Tree of Life, starting at the top with the Justice card, which is number 11, and then proceeding in the lightning bolt pattern, as I showed people last week, that the Tarot's Tree of Life is often referred to as the lightning struck tree. Okay, we arrive down at the very bottom of this macrocosmic tree at the Malkuth position with card number 20. So we're progressing from the top, from 11 all the way down to the bottom of the tree at position Malkuth, which is number 20 of the major arcana, which is judgment. So this is judgment or hell. This is when a society has remained in ignorance, when the bulk of the society in the aggregate has remained in ignorance and refused to answer the call of creation to awaken, to accept truth and apply it in their life, to accept objective morality and apply it in their life, to accept natural laws, objective and inherent existence, and live according to it in their life. We end up in judgment or hell as a society. Progressing upward, this is the truth card at the Yesod position of the macrocosmic tree of life. The sun, the light, the truth. Okay? This is the truth about what is taking place both within us and around us. And if we do not accept that, we are in for an extremely, extremely horrific ride as a species and as individuals. So, as we progress in this lightning bolt pattern up the tree of life, We come to the moon card, card number 18 of the major arcana. This is ignorance. This is the refusal of truth. Okay? So again, the sun is the truth itself. The moon here on the path of severity, or the left-hand path of the Kabbalah's tree of life, progressing upward. We see that this begins the left-hand path, refusal of truth. Moving again forward in the progression of the lightning bolt pattern on the lightning struck tree of the Kabbalah. We see the star card, and the star card represents the acceptance of the truth, the acceptance of our own sovereignty, integrating the truth into our lives, becoming one of the many, quote, stars of the heavens, okay, the suns of the sky, illuminating the darkness. Okay, this is acceptance of the truth, and this is boots on the ground spirituality, having 1 foot in the waters of spirit, 1 foot on the land of the earth or physical reality. Okay, so that's the star card, acceptance of truth, beginning the right hand path, or the path of mercy on the Kabbalah's tree of life. Progressing upward, we arrive at the heart chakra of Tiferet on the tree of life. And this is the Tower card, which represents cosmic change, change throughout an entire society, an entire planet, change in the universe, which is the one ultimate constant of the universe along with natural law. Okay, so the Tower card represents change, and there you see the symbolism of the Kabbalah's lightning, the lightning struck tree. The tree is actually reflected in this card on the Tiferet position. The Tower is the change card. Okay, progressing upward, and again, it's what manner of change are we going to create in our lives as a society on this card. And this is about making that change in the very real physical world. Some people think that it's only at an individual level that this change happens. No, it is not. I'm going to be talking about the very significant reality and the very significant understanding that this change is to be done here on the ground in the physical domain, which is no different than the spiritual domain. That we should not be concerning ourselves about other dimensions, parallel universes, other areas of existence, except what we are doing in the here and now. That's real consciousness, okay? That's real spirituality. That is bringing what you know at all other dimensions of existence and self and soul, and bringing it right down here and putting it into practice right here on earth where we are at, okay? This is what too few people understand and accept, and it's what a lot of occult elitists of the past left on the back burner, left at the door. And that's why the world's in this situation that it's in, which is what the card I'm about to talk about right now represents. The Devil card represents slavery, the slavery of the human condition. And this is the middle card on the left-hand path, the pillar of severity in Kabbalah. Okay? And it represents human slavery. And notice, it is not a deterministic thing. It is a free will choice. See, this is what too many people are not talking about. That it's all about free will, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing is set in stone except natural law. Natural law will give us either consequence. It will give us slavery if we so choose to ignore truth and morality, if we ignore objective morality and insist it's relative, insist in moral relativistic beliefs. Natural law will give us all the slavery we so want and deserve, if that is the case. And that's where humanity's at right now, because we are headed all the way up the left-hand path. The left-hand path is the satanic pathway, and that's why they depicted Satan as the enslaver of human beings, chained to his throne, okay, but chained loosely to it, where the chains could be taken off at any time around the head. They're not shackled tightly. This means the symbolism of this card means that slavery is a choice. It is a free will choice, and we are choosing it. We are choosing that consequence as a result of the behaviors that we are choosing and the thoughts that we are thinking and the thoughts that we are basing our behaviors upon. The Devil card is the slavery card, and that is at the Geburah position, which is severity. That's the severe result that we get when we refuse truth. The Temperance card, or as I call it, the sovereignty or freedom card, is at the Hesed or mercy position. This is what the pillar of mercy is named after, and this is the freedom card. This is what happens when human beings as a society in the aggregate accept truth and accept morality and live under natural law and don't violate each other's rights and don't try to be the arbiters of truth and the arbiters of morality. And this is what we get as a society. See, you got to remember, folks, this whole tree, the macrocosmic tree of life, it's all about what happens in the aggregate to a society, anywhere in the universe, on any planet in the universe. Okay? This is about when we either apply or don't apply the principles that we talked about on the microcosmic tree of the self to gain self-mastery. What will either happen in either direction, in the negative direction or in the positive direction. The left-hand path in this instance, the left-hand pillar, the pillar of severity, is what happens when we don't do that internal work and we ignore the truth and we create a society based in rulership and authority. And we get slavery as a result. And eventually we get what we left off on last week, which was the death card. So as we progress past the dot position, which is knowledge about how the universe works, we get up to that top level of the left-hand path or the pillar of severity. And this is the death card. This is extinction. This is total stagnation as a species. This is not getting the lessons that the universe is trying to teach us. This is the refusal of objective morality. This is the refusal of truth. This is the refusal of goodness. This is the refusal of living under natural law. The ultimate solution, the ultimate expression, the final place where it all ends up, total involution, as they refer to it in the occult world. The involutionary force has won, and eventually, almost mercifully, death rules. Extinction becomes the reality. This is where humanity is heading. And I almost say it's heading there mercifully compared to what we've already created. But we're going to end up going there very slowly to this level of extinction and involution. Slavery is going to become totally full and complete first because of the total immorality of our species and the total ignorance that they dwell in, which I'm going to show you. Just looking at social media, all you have to do, look, folks, I've said it many times. Most people don't see it. Most people are ignorant to it because they live in a rural community. The majority of people who listen to my work do not live in cities because cities are leftist, scumbag, communist, trash cesspools. Okay? Honestly. And not that means that the understanding of objective morality and true goodness is any better on the part of right-wing jerk-offs, okay? Because it's not. They're still scumbag statists who believe in authoritarianism in one form or another. They believe in the legitimacy of government rulership. They don't understand natural law as the law of creation, as the law of morality, as the laws of God. They don't get that at all. They think human beings can be the arbiters of truth and law and morality in the universe, which is usurping the place of God in creation, if we're being honest with ourselves. So it doesn't really matter whether it's left wing or right wing. I'm just trying to make a point that if you live in a major populated city, particularly in the United States or even in Europe or practically anywhere else, you're living in a communist cesspool at this point in our reality, which is becoming more and more closed down, more and more passively aggressive, getting ready to move to direct physical violent aggression. Okay? And it is just a tragic, garbage cesspool scenario is the only way that I can really put it. And we are going to descend into further and further slavery. I'm going to show you where even the mindset of people who say they want freedom is at. So you could imagine where authoritarian trash scumbags are at in their understanding, in their belief, in their cult religion called government. Because it is a cult. It's a death cult. This is their God. This is the God. See, people think Satan is their God. No, ultimately death is these people's God. As I worded it, Satanism ultimately is a death cult. Totalitarianism, control freak, religion of authoritarianism, it's a death cult, folks. This is what we talked about when we talked about our whole society being one big satanic cult. Ultimately, this is the force they worship. It's not this Christian variant of the devil. They don't look at as an anthropomorphized, the force that they are ultimately putting up on a pedestal is not an anthropomorphized deity that we have traditionally symbolized as Satan in the Christian tradition. You have to understand that is not what these people who are at the top of the globalist elite society worship. They worship death. One of the only names that their society has ever been called. I call it the cult without a name. It's not called the Illuminati, folks. You know, I keep trying to poo-poo that name and tell people it's a horrific misnomer to call them the Illuminati. The people who are truly enlightened are the Illuminati of the world. We are the fucking light bringers, okay? We are the Illuminati. We are the enlightened ones, not these jerk-offs who are nothing but the elite of the bottom of a garbage can. All of the scum that builds up at the bottom of a trash can is what they're the elitists of. Okay? I call them the cult without a name. I don't refer to them as the enlightened ones. Okay? I'm one of the Illuminati. I'm one of the enlightened ones. Okay? Don't give them that homage. Don't give them that, kind of calling card. Why? What are they enlightened about? Enlightenment is about understanding what is true, understanding what is moral, and then putting that into practice in your life through your actions. Getting your skin in the game. Speaking truth to others. Being an example of living according to not harming anybody else. That's not what these pieces of trash are. They're death worshippers. The only name I've really heard them ever refer to themselves as that is an accurate representation of what they are is the cult of death. That's it. Because they don't call themselves the Illuminati. And neither should you. Refer to them as what they really are. The cult of death. The cult of the black sun. That's an accurate name for them. The cult of knowledge that they have, but it's not wielded for the right. It's wielded for all the wrong reasons, for control and manipulation and deceit and their own selfish gain at the cost of everyone else's rights and freedoms. So this is where we left off. This is what this card really represents. This is the force of involution, which was where we're headed. It has firm control, folks. This is the card that has the most firm control over the current reality of human beings on Earth. I'm sad to say it, but I have to tell you the truth. This is ultimately where we're going. And I don't just mean as individuals. I mean, we are headed into the maw, the gaping maw of these sick, satanic, pedophile mind controllers, social engineers, as an entire society. They're eating us alive. Because we do not understand objective morality ourselves. And yet we want to say that we want freedom. And we don't understand you can never have freedom if you're a moral relativist. It cannot ever occur by law in the universe. It's an impossibility. It's like saying, I'm going to take some paper that burns very quickly, hold it over a fire, burn it. And then suddenly, magically, I want that paper to remain intact in my hand after I've burned it. Well, good fucking luck to you. Smacked ass. Because the universal laws of creation do not work that way in the physical domain, just like they don't work that way in the spiritual domain. You cannot just wish for freedom and have it magically happen when you're doing all the things to immolate it, to burn it up. And this is what jackasses in our so-called movement, which is no movement at all, it's moving backwards. It ain't moving forward. There's no evolutionary progression. We are firmly ensconced in involution, or backwards progress, stagnation and backwards progress, and eventually death. That's where our whole society is going. And I'm not saying that to depress you. I'm not saying that to make you discouraged. I'm saying that to tell you the truth about where we are at. Because if you don't know where we are at, you don't know what our work is to do. That's like saying you go into a structure in a building and your job is to rehab the structure and make it sound, and you don't know just how dilapidated and all fucked up the structure of the building is. So how would you know what work you actually need to do in the rehabilitation of a building structure as an engineer or an architect or people who are actually doing that building reconstruction progress? You would have no clue if you didn't make the assessment, the diagnosis of where the health of that building is at. And I'm trying to explain to you through the tarot, you can actually look at the symbolism that shows us and reveals unto us where the progress of our entire civilization is at, if you know how to decode it. And really all you have to do is step outside your door and just go and, speak to people. But see, again, the problem is most of my listenership, it's more people who have more time on their hands, who have a little bit more maybe affluence on their hands, where they can sit and study this over a period of time. Not all people that listen to the show are like that, but I'm just trying to explain that there are more people who listen to this show who aren't like the trash in major cities. I'd say the bulk of my listenership is in somewhere in rural communities, and that's actually a disadvantage to you guys. I'm talking right to you. It's actually a disadvantage because you're sheltered from a lot of the reality of the world, sadly. But truthfully, you're sheltered from it. I know I talk to a lot of people that I would have to call sheltered and naive who listen to my work, but they do not understand where people are at. They don't understand how absolutely sick and cult fucked up the average person that you go and talk to in a major city, in a major leftist controlled city on the street is every day of their life. These are people who would think that because I'm a white, middle-aged, heterosexual male, that I'm their enemy. That's how fucked up their minds are. They have no idea what I've done with my life. They have no idea where I've been, what I've seen, what I've done in the past, how I have changed, what I do in the present, and they don't want to know. They judge by appearance. If you look like you're not a member of their fucking cult, you're judged accordingly. And how fucking dare you? You don't know a thing about me. Little boys and little girls out there. Not a fucking damn thing. I'm not above responding to somebody with the way they treat me. I'm not about this turning the other cheek shit. Okay? That's bullshit added into the New Testament by the Piso dynasty. They wanted to make it all about stand down. Never do anything to the people who are physically actually harming you and taking your rights away. No. Just take their bullshit. That's not what turning the other cheek ever meant in original Christianity. It meant continue to bring the truth to people that you feel their soul isn't so fucking destroyed that they can eventually understand it. And if they smack that truth out of your hand, pick it up and give it back to them the next day, in the next minute even. Friends, family, acquaintances that you think aren't so fucked up and damaged in the brain that they can eventually understand this if you plant enough seeds. That's what turning the other cheek is about doing. It's not about saying people who have done things to you that deserve retribution for what they've done, that you should sit there and just take it endlessly. Please. I mean, those are the kind of people that'll curl up in a fetal position when they're being beaten on. These people have no right to do this stuff. But see, it's the naivete and the shelteredness of a lot of the people who listen to my work. And you know who else is included in that? Not just people in the rural communities, folks, the Europeans out there. I mean, you guys don't get it. I hope you're getting it with how bad your society is becoming, But you guys are so domesticated because you've had your weapons taken away from you that you don't even understand how dangerous it's going to get for you. You don't understand how much of a powder keg America is right now. And they're pushing further and further and further. But see, do you just let them keep taking the ground because they're pushing for more violence? Starting with passive aggression violence and then progressing to true aggressive violence? Do you just keep doing that endlessly? That's my question to ask people. Do you say, oh, they're just mind controlled. They don't know that they're a cult member. They don't know what influence they're under by the social engineers and the mind controller. Do you just keep letting them take ground over and over? That's what they did with the brown shirts of Nazi Germany. Keep letting them take ground, take ground, take ground. Never push back against them because you're too fucking cowardly to do it. And then what? Oh, then the night of the long knives came, right? Yeah. And then they got thrown under the bus so that they could put their even further elite henchmen in charge, which is like what they have prepared in the military and police forces and the Department of Homeland Security, etc., so forth. Okay? You think all these people aren't going to get thrown under the bus? They're useful dupes and tools is what they are. And this is all part of the death cult's manipulation. And they're pulling out more and more false flags again with these fake ass shootings. You know, these manipulated shootings, all with people with AKs and ARs. You know, it's all just to try to get the guns away. Well, you ain't ever fucking getting our guns, motherfucker. I don't care how many people get shot. You can kill every infant in the world. Quote me on that. Put that up on the nightly news. You're not taking my weapons away because it doesn't matter what bad people do with them. All that matters is they are for defense against these criminal fucking authoritarian thugs. That's it. So you ain't ever getting them, no matter what happens. And that's nothing about love of guns. That's the love of self and self-defense and truth and morality and goodness. I'm going to tell you hardcore to your face in street language. You ain't ever coming for my weapons without a fight. And trust me, just about every American with their fucking head screwed on straight thinks the exact same way. If you're not in these trash authoritarian cult belief system, the people who have their heads screwed on straight think exactly the same way here, and the Europeans, better start understanding it, listening up and taking note, because you've had your balls clipped off, boys and girls, especially the men there. Okay? And you've let them do it. And when then they come for your rights, you're going to have to kiss over and bend your ass. Pucker up, boys, and you're going to bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. Pucker up, because that's what's coming. In your society. And you know what? We'll be too busy fighting our battle over here to save your asses. Don't expect America to save your ass. You better be prepared to save your own. But guess what? We ain't following your example here. We ain't following the example of Australia and Great Britain and any other place that had their balls clipped off, had their fangs pulled out. You've been defanged, devenomized, and deballed, son. I don't care who gets offended. Get as offended as you like by that statement. All right? And this is why death's coming. So let's go back to the slide. I'm going to wrap up these last two cards, and I want to put up a couple of other things and talk about a little bit about moral relativism regarding why we're headed in the path that we're headed. This is the ultimate expression of the left-hand path. This is when a society has become satanic, where it's headed. And that's what we are. We're a sick, depraved, immoral, satanic society. And you know what? I'm sick of shit as hearing it's all just the Satanists and the globalists and the social engineers' fault. No, it isn't. Stop being an apologist for bad thinking and bad behavior in humanity. It's humanity's fault. Oh, they're manipulated. They're socially engineered. They're mind controlled. I don't give a shit. You got to take responsibility for the lies you buy. Because for those lies and deceptions to be sold, they have to have tons and tons and tons of willing buyers. And this is what people have to stop thinking, that, oh, woe is us, we're the victims. Well, we're the victims. Oh, what they did to us. You're an asshole. And you don't understand what's going on. And you don't understand natural law. Crying your milk over it. Punk little bitch boy. Because that's what people who think like that are. Okay? You don't take responsibility for yourself and your own behavior, and you let other people get off the hook without taking responsibility for themselves and their own behavior. It doesn't matter how much manipulation has taken place if you are doing any work upon yourself to advance your own consciousness and your own understanding of what's right and what's wrong. And I'm going to tell you that straight up, straight to your face with tough love. Okay? And it doesn't mean either tough love for you, for humanity. It means tough love of truth. And I'm going to speak that tough love of truth out into the universe, because the universe is spoken into creation, and that's what I am charged to do by creation's laws. That have nothing to do with man's laws, and which is the only thing that I am bound by, that my behavior is bound by, are the laws of natural law. The laws of the God of creation. That's it. So this is what's coming for our society. This is the card that rules our society. The cult of death. Involution. Backwards progress in consciousness. Now, the two cards I did not get to are probably the two most important cards in the entire tarot deck. And I feel a tremendous affinity with this particular card, the Hanged Man card. I consider, as much as the Justice card, it is one of the most important cards. And this is my birth card, along with the Courage or Strength card. Card number 8. Card number 12. My birthday is coming up in 8 days. Very appropriate, that this is card number 12. 8/12, August 12th is my birthday. Those are my cards. Strength or Courage and the Hanged Man. And what the Hanged Man is the evolution card. The Hanged Man is the servant of evolution. The Hanged Man is the servant of natural law. I talked about this concept of service in the past, being a servant. It doesn't mean being a slave. This is not the slave of natural law. This is not the slave of God. It's the servant, the one who takes the law on a platter, like a waiter or a servant in a restaurant takes food on a platter to someone and hands it to them. And now they have to take it into themselves. You can't make them eat it. Okay? You can't force it into their makeup. They have to make that willful decision to it. But you are the servant. And again, we are the waiters. We wait. We are already there. We have this knowledge integrated into our makeup as an individual, but we wait on other people. This is the concept of the bodhisattva in the Buddhist tradition. The one who waits in the prison, who keeps coming back to the prison, giving natural law to people until they awaken. And until all are free and all are out. That's the Hanged Man. He has accepted that he's crucified in the physical domain on the tree. On the, quote, tree of life, which is rapidly becoming the tree of death. So, tremendously powerful and appropriate for my particular birth cards. You can calculate your own with your birth month first and then your birthday. And if they end up being greater than, either 12 or, 21, then you can just reduce. So if you're born on the 31st of the month, you just reduce that. 3 plus 1 is 4. So your second birth card would be 4. Okay? Since I'm born August 12th, my first card is 8, which is Courage or Strength, and then 12, which is the Hanged Man, the servant of evolution, the servant of natural law that is seated at the right hand of natural law. So the Hanged Man is true evolution in consciousness. Service to truth, service to natural law, service to the laws of objective morality. And he's enlightened. This is the Illuminati card, folks. You want the Illuminati card. It's not, the devil or the death card. They're not the Illuminati. They're the ones who are trying to destroy the Illuminati. They're trying to prevent illumination and enlightenment. This is the Illuminati card. Okay? This is the actual society that the people within society would comprise a group called the Illuminati, the Illuminated Ones, the Hangman card. That's what the halo of light around the being's head means. And the great cross, see, that's what it represents. The Tau cross of the universe, and then of the power of natural law. And then he is upon that, the lesser cross of his legs crossed. Again, we saw the symbolism in the tarot last week of the great cross and the lesser cross. The great cross of the galaxy/universe, the lion, the man, the bull, and the eagle, and then the lesser cross of the individuated sun, which is what the hangman represents. That's the solar system cross of the solstices and the equinoxes. And here we have it reflected in the macrocosm. So you see, it's always the law of correspondence applied. And that's why we have to understand what we are talking about here is not just the individual progression or evolution of the soul. This is the progression of the whole society as a whole. Okay? That doesn't mean attachment to the physical domain. That means that you are a servant of natural law in the physical domain. And yes, it is about getting everybody to that level of consciousness. It's not about just individuals progressing to it, as too many people who don't understand real high-level spirituality want to talk about. And this is the elitism of Hermeticism coming through. And I don't agree with it. That's why they haven't accomplished the great work. That's why the great work has not been accomplished of ending human slavery on Earth and on any other planet where slavery presents itself. That's the goal. It's a very real world spiritual goal in the physical domain. And people have to get that message through their heads, folks. They have to get it through their heads. This is not about what happens in other dimensions, the hereafter, some afterlife that we don't know is coming, exists, whatever. Okay? This is about doing it here, boots on the ground, streetwise spirituality. And too few want to accept that because they want to believe it's just about the individual. That's the height of hubris. That's the height of hubris. This is indeed about everyone. It's about the collective. It's about the aggregate of society. Actually, it's about everyone. See, this is the idea in Thelema, that the law is for all. The true understanding of natural law is not for a spiritual elite. It is for everyone. As Gamma Ray, the metal band, said in their song, heaven is for everyone. When I hear the line, I get chills up and down my spine. I get goosebumps on my flesh. You know, the whole idea that you can take my heartbeat, but you will not take my soul. That's the hangman card. That means you'll crucify me in the flesh, in the physical world of life, but you will not annihilate my soul and my understanding of right and wrong and under natural law. So do whatever you will to the flesh. But I will be back here and never, ever escape. Escape is not what I'm looking for. See? You know? This is the idea, the whole concept of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not looking for escape. Looking for true transformation in the physical domain, because that's what natural law, the law of the universe, is demanding and commanding. And that's the only authority there is, because that's the law of God. And you know what? I'm going to say it just that way. All you atheists, go fuck yourselves. How about that? How about just saying it just like that? I'm not interested in your bullshit religion, because that's what is the religion here. And that's why people believe in moral relativism, because they think there's no higher power than man. And you think we get to make up what right and wrong are. And you're fucking trash. All of you, every last one of you are fucking trash. I'm going to say it just like that to you. I don't give a shit what you think or how much you're offended. You don't understand. You're ignorant. You don't understand what's going on in the world. And you think you do because you're a little fucking child who thinks that man is the most powerful thing in all of creation. And only a little fucking imbecile child would think that. I don't believe in all these people's imbecilic religions either, because that's just as naive and childish. And it's, you know what's even more childish? The assholes out in the world who can't understand that you can be a non-religionist and not accept the major world religions as truth. And you can also not be an atheist and accept that bullshit religion as truth either. This is called unidimensional childish fucking thinking is what it's called. And I'm calling people out on it. You're buying into the dialectic of religion versus atheism. And what you don't understand is cosmic, natural, universal, spiritual, moral laws under the creator of the universe, which are objective. Natural law is objective inherent reality that does not require belief or religion to understand and accept, any more than gravity does. And there are too many people out there that are just ignorant fucking children and don't understand that. And that's why you and I are enslaved. That's the reason. That's the underlying causal factor that you and I are currently slaves on this planet. And you don't want to get it. You don't want to understand it. Because your ego is in the way. And I'll butt heads ego to ego with you, like I said last week. I'm done trying to explain it to people with a little spoon-fed, be nice, not let my true personality come out when I'm talking to an ignorant fucking asshole. Because that's what people who think that way are. You're just ignorant assholes who just think you are the highest fucking power. That's it. That's what you think. You think you're God. You think you're God. That's what you believe. That's what Satanism is. You're a Satanist. That's what people out there are in the truth movement, in the freedom movement. You're fucking Satanists. I'm going to prove it after I talk about the justice card, the final card in the major arcana. So this is the evolution card, the hangman card. So let's move to the final position. Keter, the crown chakra, the top of the tree of life. Christed consciousness, God consciousness. In the microcosmic tree, self-mastery. On the macrocosmic tree, it's God itself. Law itself. Justice. Natural law. Heaven, if you will. This is where we should truly be living. On the earth. This place could be a paradise instead of a prison. People think, oh, it's so utopic and it's so just a pipe dream. No, you know what it is? It's a free will choice. It's a free will choice that ignorant assholes don't want to make because they hate themselves and they think they're God. And that's where thinking you're God comes from. Thinking that you're the highest power in creation and you get to make up what right and wrong are. That comes from a place of self-loathing and self-hatred, because only one who hates themselves could ever come to believe you're the higher power, you're the highest power in creation, you're God, and you subjectively get to make up what right and wrong are based on your whims and preferences. Only a motherfucker who absolutely hates themselves down to the fucking core of their being can think like that. And that's called being a Satanist. That's called being a Satanist. You know, I'm going to lash this all out here today because I'm in a mood. I'm going to try to reel it in when I go on InfoWars because I know his audience isn't here yet, right? I'll dial it back a bit because I know they have to really study this and understand it. And I'll try to give them the basics of natural law. But you know what? The so-called truth movement, the so-called freedom fighters out there, you guys have your heads up your asses. And I'm going to be the one to have to tell it to you because no one else will, because they want viewership, they want money, they want donations. I don't give a fuck if all of that dries up. I'm here to tell the truth. So we're going to look at, after I talk about what this final and most important card of the tarot is, we're going to go and look at moral relativism in the freedom movement before I take your calls. And anybody who's not outraged by that, this is still the dominant reality, the dominant mindset in the freedom movement. You yourself have your head up your ass if you're not totally sickened and angered by this. Righteously angered. You yourself. And if you're not doing anything about that situation, you don't understand what the great work is, and you don't understand true right from wrong if you're not actively doing something to try to change it. Through your actions, not just lip service, through what you do in life. So this final card, card number 11, the two pillars with the great cross right there, okay? The two pillars of enlightenment. And it totals to 3 as well, which is the Trinity, 777, okay? I'm sorry, it doesn't. It totals to 2. But the two pillars is what I'm talking about of self-defense and non-aggression. Non-aggression and self-defense, the two pillars of enlightenment. It totals to 11, okay? 11 is the number and it totals to 2. But what we are talking about here is natural law, the king of creation, enthroned in the universe, that can never be dethroned from the top of the tree of life, the macrocosmic tree of life. This is the force that governs all of creation. Natural law, true, universal, cosmic, spiritual justice. Holding the sword of truth and the scales of justice, seated enthroned in front of the temple of man. The temple of creation, with the two pillars at his side. The one pillar of non-aggression principle and the one pillar of the self-defense principle. Crowned king. That's why he's at the crown position, Keter, on the tree of life and the crown chakra of the Vedic chakra system. So you just look at the progression. We had the left-hand path, okay? So that's the final symbolism of the macrocosmic tree of life. So what I want to do is I want to put them together. The microcosmic tree of life, which was the path of the individuated soul, depicted at the dot position. Right here. Sorry, let me step back and bring I'm trying to bring my cursor up. Give me one moment. I'm not sure why I'm not getting the cursor on the screen, but it's not coming up today. But anyway, switch back over, and we're talking about at the dot position, which is the card right underneath the top one on the middle path, okay? In white, okay, with the white glow around it. You see that I've colored the glows around the card according to the chakra colors. Red at the bottom, then as you go up, orange, and then as you come to a dual chakra, you have yellow, which is the solar plexus chakra, then the heart chakra in green, the throat chakra in blue, and then in indigo, or a deeper shade of bluish purple, you have the third eye chakra. Then at the top in violet, or even a bright purple pink, you have the crown chakra. Right underneath that, at the dot position, which is not one of the Sephirot, but the position called knowledge on the tree of life, the dot position, you have the Fool, which is the soul card or the individuated consciousness, and then you have the world or universe card at the dot position of the macrocosmic tree of life on the right. So what I want to do first is show what all the cards actually mean. So I think I put together a really nice card. I'm going to kind of fade the actual tree with the card symbolism slightly into the background, but then I'm going to put the actual naming as I would name it, very plainly and out in the open, not occulted, not veiled, okay, of what I would call this on my own, these cards on my own tarot deck in these positions on the tree of life. So I hope this particular decoding key for the major arcana of the tarot comes in handy for people. I know it really helped me to understand it when I sort of, really deeply understood what each card meant. And then putting them on the tree of life itself, the respective two trees of life, the microcosmic and macrocosmic, really acts as a decoding of the pictorial keys of the tarot, okay? So again, the Malkuth position on the microcosmic tree of life is ignorance and unconsciousness, staying there as an individual. Then we come up to the Yesod position. It's the sacrum chakra, or the genital chakra. This is the desire to know, to learn, to grow as an individual. When we get up to the solar plexus chakra, this is courage and willpower to act in the world. Courage is the internal quality, willpower is the external. So all the feminine or internal aspects will be on the left hand pillar, which is the feminine pillar, and then the right hand side pillar, the pillar of mercy, is the active or masculine pillar. Care, or the generative principle, is what ultimately unites everything within the individual. This is why it is the ultimate of the universal, of the individual forces, of the individual aspects of human consciousness. Ultimately, what we care enough to do, to learn, to understand, and then to do, is what gets manifested in our lives. Then we go up to the throat chakra, and we have self-discipline, which is work upon the self. And then we have influence upon others. That's work upon others. So this is how we will influence and change ourselves versus how we will influence and help others to change. Then passing through the abyss, the hidden realm of knowledge of Da'at, the soul, the self, the individual, which is what this whole tree is about, we come to the realm of the trivium. So the soul, self, individual at that Da'at position represents knowledge. Then we have to understand what that knowledge means. Understanding, that's an internal aspect. Understanding of self through self-discipline and courage to delve into the knowledge of self. And then we actively apply that in our life. And that's what wisdom is. It's right action. It's action not applied according to natural law, which is what the High Priestess card is. She gives birth to that. Okay, that is the Mary figure in the Christian tradition who gives birth to the Son. Wisdom gives birth to right action in the world. But it's a masculine quality because it's about acting. It's not a passive quality. And finally, at the very top, or Keter or crown position, we have self-mastery. That's what the magician or magus represents in the tarot. So do we attain that self-mastery through integrating all of these aspects of human consciousness and working with all of them within the self? Understanding, knowing, understanding, and applying them. Or do we stay in ignorance and unconsciousness at the Wheel of Fortune card at the bottom, at Malkuth? That's the microcosmic tree. The macrocosmic tree is the tree that shows us and reveals unto us what is happening in our whole society based on what is happening in the aggregate as individuals. Because one tree is a reflection of the other. The correspondence principle is always at work. That which is below is like to that which is above. The microcosmic tree of life is self-similar to the macrocosmic tree of life. So if we stay in ignorance and unconsciousness in the aggregate as individuals, what happens in society? You then look at the Malkuth position of the macrocosmic tree, and we end up in judgment or hell. And that's exactly where we are. This is where we are on this place of the macrocosmic tree. In the placement, that's where we are. Malkuth, macrocosmic tree of life. We are in judgment or in hell. That's what this earth has become. It is a prison planet. It is a lockdown hell world at this point, and rapidly going to become way, way worse and way, way more overt of a prison. Way more. Right now, it's just a covert prison in most people's minds because they're so fucking ignorant. But it is going to become a rapidly increasingly worse hell overt prison. And that is because we have willfully refused truth. Truth has been offered to us. It is the way, the truth, and the life. Truth itself. The light of the Creator, natural law. We could accept it and transform ourselves and our reality, but we have rejected it. We've ended up at the moon. We've chosen the moon instead of the stars. That's what we've chosen. We've taken the path of refusal of truth, not acceptance of truth, as you move up the ladder to God. And the universe is going to give us the result or manifestation of that choice, which is what the Tiferet or heart chakra position of the macrocosmic tree of life. Absolutely inescapable change or inescapable result. Inescapable consequence. This is the change, manifestation, result, or consequence card. We cannot act without consequence. We have free will to choose the behaviors we will enact in life, but we do not have the ability to escape the manifested result or consequences of those free will chosen behaviors. That's how natural law brings us the result of our behaviors in life. And when we as a society in the very real physical domain on earth choose to refuse to learn the truth, and we will not accept the truth, we go into a societal condition called slavery on the left-hand path. Conversely, if we were to become a society that in the aggregate did accept the truth, we would build a society based on true human freedom, depicted on the right side of the tree of life, in the middle, the pillar of mercy. Ultimately, the two forces that are ultimately presiding over these choices are the actual, I shouldn't even say presiding over, I should say are the end result manifestation. The final result is death, involution, stagnation as a species, or the hangman card, that's the death card, or the progression and evolution of our species in consciousness in the aggregate. Again, this is not the individual card. This is the aggregate card of what is going to happen as a society, as a whole, as a collective. And the ultimate law and force which presides over all of it is natural law or justice. True, universal, moral justice. That is not put in effect by any power of man, by any ability of man, by any preference of man, by anything that mankind can do, that humankind is capable of doing. This is put into effect by the creator of the universe and exists in effect in creation as surely as any physical law does. And the result that we are getting in our society is the way that we understand the existence and manifestation of these laws, how they work, the existence and operation of these laws, and how they bring us the manifested consequences of our behavior as a society, as individuals, and as a whole, as a species. Natural law is the unwavering presider over that. That is the deterministic factor in creation. Nothing else is set in stone except natural law. Everything else is a choice. It's a choice whether we do that self-work. It's a choice whether we accept truth as an individual and as a society. It's a choice whether we go into slavery or whether we build a world of freedom. It's a choice whether we stagnate and go into involution and death, or whether we progress as an entire species and evolve under natural law. It's all a free will choice, and it is all on the macrocosmic tree of life. It is all something that we do in the physical domain collectively. And if people do not understand that, I regret to inform you, you have not figured out true, real, high-level, natural law-based spirituality. You have bought into a religion-based occult form of spirituality that only went so far but did not go all the way. Understand that. Get it. Go into it deeply. This is about everyone. Natural law is for all. The law of love is for all. Heaven is for everyone, not just some. Because ultimately everybody's getting this lesson no matter how black-hearted they allow their soul to become and how fallen they allowed it to become. You think the creator of the universe leaves any behind? Everybody's getting this lesson no matter how much they want to kick and scream and refuse that they're going to get it. But the creator will allow that because it allows total freedom through free will to express whatever we want, even if we're going to continue to express a prison that continues to be destroyed and recycled endlessly. The creator will say that is your free will choice not to learn the lessons that must be learned here if you are to evolve. You say that that's what you want, but you are not choosing that through your gifted free will. There is no forcing the free will. The creator is total love, total law, the total law of love. This is what you really, if you really go into Thelema, that you deeply understand. And most people never get there. They stop short. And guess what? You want to say, I'm not about Crowley. I am not a Crowleyite at all. Being a Thelemite and being a Crowleyite are two different things. That's like the difference between being a modern day Christian versus learning the true esoteric message of Christ consciousness. They're two entirely different things. And one can go all the way and attain Christed consciousness, and that has nothing to do with following the church's edicts or decrees in Christianity. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to Thelema for people who don't understand the distinction between a fallen teacher known as Aleister Crowley and the true tenets and high-level spiritual understanding that you can extract from a deep understanding of the Thelemic philosophy. And only people who have limited thinking and unidimensional thinking will not understand the distinction and will not make that distinction between those two very different things. So when I say you can understand this by going deeply into Thelema, I'm not talking about liking Aleister Crowley. I think that would be a very bad decision. I'm talking about really understanding the Thelemic philosophy, which is a philosophy about natural law. Just like high-level Rosicrucianism is a philosophy about natural law. High-level esoteric Christianity is a philosophy about natural law. High-level esoteric Freemasonry is a philosophy about natural law. High-level esoteric Kabbalism is a philosophy about natural law. It's the understanding of these laws, universal moral laws of creation. And that's why one must study and understand the occult. You can want to continue to think about it as something that should be shunned and not looked at because that's what your stupid fucking religion told you. You go right ahead. You're not going to get what's really taking place within yourself and in the world. And you're always going to get it from some secondhand externalized source or deity that you believe in. You're not actually going to get it from the universal creator that put all of the laws into effect in a one-to-one lesson. In a one-to-one lesson. Because when you deeply study the real hidden knowledge of the occult, that's the lesson you're going to get, and it's not going to come from any place else except directly from the creator of the universe. That's how natural law is revealed. It's revealed, and it is discovered. And it is understood, and then it is integrated by how we behave. And that is what the tarot is revealing unto us, like every other mystery tradition of consciousness does, if we are open to receiving its message. And that's what Kabbalah prepares us for. Proper reception of natural law. So let's just look at, before we move on, I just want to put up these pillars. The two pillars on both trees, okay? The left-hand pillar of the microcosmic tree of life is those internal or feminine aspects of the individual. Courage, self-discipline, and internal understanding of self. The right-hand pillar is the external or masculine aspects. Willpower to apply our behavior in the world. Influence that we are going to have upon others by interacting with others and setting an example. And then taking actual right action in the world, which is wisdom. These are external or masculine aspects of the individual. On the macrocosmic tree, we have the negative outcomes of the left-hand path. See, in the microcosmic tree, folks, you have to not look at these as positive or negative. They are simply internal/female versus external/masculine. Feminine, I should have said, not female. Internal feminine versus external masculine. On the macrocosmic tree of life, they are negative versus positive, because you have the negative outcomes of the pillar of severity on the left-hand path, the refusal of truth, slavery, and eventually death, stagnation, involution. Whereas on the pillar of mercy, you have the positive outcomes, which begin with the acceptance of truth, the building of a society based in true freedom, and then progress and evolution in consciousness to the next level that creation will then reveal unto us, because there will be other challenges after this. This is based on where we are at now. But we're not going anywhere individually, ladies and gentlemen. This is a total lack of understanding of what our work is to do here. Because to say, fuck everybody else in slavery, I've learned the lessons and now I'm going somewhere else, you have refused the great work through ego. It's not the other way around. This is about getting everyone out of slavery, because heaven is for everyone. It's not for leaving people behind. And the physical domain, it's not about attachment to that. It is about that there is no separation between the spiritual domain and the physical domain. That's the real message of true spirituality and Hermeticism properly understood. Not understood according to the elitist interpretation of Hermetic philosophy, as is derived out of the ancient Cometian tradition. And obviously even predates that. So I hope people have gained an accurate understanding of this. Now, before I give my small, spiel on supporting this work, I want to step out of the presentation slides for one moment, because that is my last slide there. And I want to switch back over to my web browser, because I want to show people this, and this is highly important. Let's put this up full screen, and let's just leave it up full screen, okay? Because that's how important this is. I'm going to make this as big as it can be to display this full screen. I went to a thread in Facebook, so on social media, on Facebook, and literally almost came to a place of such depression that I actually almost vomited. I'm not even, that's not a, I know that's almost nuts, but I got so upset to my stomach upon reading this thread that I went and leaned over my sink in my bathroom for about 10 minutes, thinking I was going to vomit. I swear this happened this week. That's how depressed I got and how physically nauseous this thread made me. And this should not be a reflection on the people who run the Free Thought Project. That's the first thing I want to say before everybody, makes an inaccurate understanding of what I'm going to lay out here. Okay? I know that the guys on the Free Thought Project try to do a good job. And guess what? It's no different than groups that are about my work on natural law, my work on freedom, in groups that have the name Mark Passio or natural law on them. Okay? You could have just as much of ignorant fucktards on groups that have my name on it as you do here in the Free Thought Project. Soulless, ignorant, absolute naive children who think they understand the dynamics that are taking place around them, when they know less than nothing, and they are in a place of what I refer to as negative knowledge. Not only not knowing anything about how it works, but erroneously believing that you have it figured out when you know your asshole. Okay? So I'm done being nice about it, and it makes me physically fucking ill. And anybody who's out there thinking that I'm going to help the world and I'm going to be a teacher of natural law and I'm going to help people to understand what's really going on, if this doesn't make you sick, and you don't have to get as ill as that, I hope you don't, but if this doesn't make you angry and feeling soul sick about what's really going on in our society, you're not awake. You're dead fucking asleep. Okay? So, someone who's a member of this community group of the Free Thought Project, I don't know whether it's officially sanctioned by them or not, posted this post that simply asked the question, what percentage of the world is morally good? Now, when I posted the link, this is another thing I want people to understand, because they don't listen, they don't read, they look at the picture and don't read what I'm asking them to do. And I'm not asking people to answer their question. See, I can't remove the picture. If you place the link to this place on Facebook, you can't remove the image, to my knowledge. It has to have a preview image. I think that's stupid. I think Facebook should go back to allowing you to delete the preview image if you post to a place that has one, but they don't. It has to have a preview image, okay? So I couldn't take this down and just say, check out this link. Underneath my post, it's going to have their original picture of the thread, from the thread, which says what percentage of the world is morally good. Let me just emphatically state this so all the people who don't read and listen to what I'm asking them to do get it if you are watching this broadcast, okay? I am asking you not to answer that question. I don't want the answer, your take on what the actual percentage of how many people in the world are morally good. I don't really care what you think the percentage is. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you to read the comments of this thread from the Free Thought Project community group, Facebook group. I want you to read the comments that are posted under it. So I expanded the comments under it. There are 251 comments to this thread. So I expanded it. This is what I was asking people to look at, not to answer the question that was posed in the group. Do you understand? I mean, maybe I have to just say it way slower. Then maybe people will understand what I'm asking them to look at. Shall we go that route? Do we really need to go that fucking route? Okay? I'm asking you on my post on my Facebook page to read the comments of the link. Okay? I know some people are a little slow on the fucking uptake. Okay? I get it. There's a lot of fluoride products out there. The radionics have been ramped up. I get it. All right. So look at the first few comments. What difference does it make? Who gives a shit whether people are moral or immoral? Who cares? That has no bearing on anything to a fucking fucktard in a group that's talking about making the world a freer place. I mean, could you imagine? This is where people are at. This is the kind of know-nothings that you have. Don't even understand that all of freedom hinges upon whether behavior is moral or not. Knows nothing about natural law and how it works. And will insist it doesn't exist. No doubt if you keep pressing them. What difference does any question pose? If you learn the answer, the question then has value. In this case, the sheer impossibility of measuring morality makes the question naive at best. No, morality can be measured. It can be measured by the observable effects of whether a society is heading into freedom or heading into enslavement. That's called the law of freedom. As aggregate morality increases, aggregate freedom increases. It's a mathematical equation that is unwavering and works the same way at all places in creation. That's why it's called a law. The answer isn't a percentage. The answer is that everyone has different morals. This is the original poster commenting on his own post now. moral relativism, in other words. The answer is that everyone has different morals. Therefore, it is an incalculable number. I was just curious as to how many people could see that. A thought experiment, if you will. And then it gets 3 likes. Oh, one person responded with sadness. Maybe they get it. Moral relativism by a person who says or is in a group, posting in a group, thinking that they can ever obtain freedom in creation while being a moral relativist. Know nothings. This is what our movement is comprised of. Our so-called movement. We have no movement. We have death, stagnation, involution. That's your master in this movement, so-called movement. You want to know? That's the direction of the movement. That's your master. You're the card that represents your master. And that's where we're heading. Somebody who actually gets it posted next and corrected their smacked ass error. Morality is objective and universal. There is no such thing as different morals, and it is not subjective, period. The fact that people don't know or understand this is why we have the world we do. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for correcting these smacked fucking asses. You know, I don't even have the patience to do it on Facebook thread. I don't even have the patience to do it. Because where I'm at, I'm bending over the fucking sink, ready to vomit. That's where I'm at, having done this for the last 12 fucking years. To see this kind of shit on threads that are saying they want freedom. What does morally good mean to you? I guess the question is a bit ambiguous because morality is subjective. You be the judge. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We could just make it the fuck up at our whim. So if we say we're going to pass some laws and people got to go into fucking concentration camps against their will, well, hey, you passed a law. That's moral according to the people who passed the law. Yeah, it's fine. That's right. That's what moral right is, I guess. Just like all other of man's subjective law. The answer has to include subjective parameters then. I'd say there's no way to tell, almost regardless of one's definitions of right and wrong. Of one's, meaning an individual's definition. Meaning we can have individual definitions of right and wrong. We could all, yeah. Don't you know? Don't you know? Sorry, I clicked on something accidentally. I apologize. Meaning we can have individual. Sorry about that. Got a little excited and hit my my trackpad. Yeah, we could just make up what right and wrong are. You know, that's all. It's according to each individual's definition. There's no objective definition. Yeah, this is where we're at. Yeah. Yeah, here, he's saying it again. Experience is subjective, much like morality. There is no correct percentage because of morality's subjectivity. Believe it? And there are other people who absolutely agree with his contention. You know? Yeah. Who chooses the morals or what's good or bad? As if it can be chosen, right? It's not something that exists in the universe and was put there by the creator of the universe as law. No, every other aspect of creation is bound by law, down to the subatomic particle. But morality is subjective and humans get to fucking make it up. Yeah, that's how it works, folks. Yeah. And these are people who say they want freedom. Well, you know what, folks? You need to go back and reread, watch my seminar on natural law, okay? Hopefully I'll get into this on InfoWars and help people to get a better understanding of how moral subjectivity, moral relativism is destroying our freedom. Hopefully, the conversation will go in that direction because that's where I want it to go. Okay? We'll see. And I highly suggest rereading the Aquinas on Liberty essay that I posted. I'm going to repost it with this podcast on tarot. Okay? And really, you should read it. I'm not going to get into it today. I'll just post it. But it is not Thomas Aquinas, the Christian philosopher. Okay? It is a modern philosopher who refers to himself as Aquinas, an internet handle. Okay? I don't know how many more times I have to say that because I still get people saying that this is Thomas Aquinas' writings. No, it isn't. This is a modern philosopher known as Aquinas, who to this day apparently remains anonymous, who coincidentally, or maybe synchromistically, posted an essay on the state of human freedom and its connection to objective morality on an InfoWars forum probably about 8 or 9 years ago that I commented on and did a lot of, breakdown and analysis of because I thought it was such an enlightened understanding of natural law. Well, I highly recommend people go back and listen to it because it concludes very truthfully and correctly that there can be no freedom in a society that embraces moral relativity. Can be no freedom in a society that embraces moral relativism by law, by universal law. So that's all I wanted to put up there about this post and show you where our society is. So those are the ends of the things I wanted to show you on my web browser. But I want you to want my producer to cut back over to my slides because I want to just wrap this up and say thank you for, watching the whole. Let me just take it all the way to the end. I want to say thank you for watching this 2-part presentation on the major arcana of the tarot revisited as a revelation of both personal progress in consciousness and society's progress in the aggregate in any given society anywhere in the universe. Now we're going to take calls for the duration for the last approximate hour and a half. But if you have gained value from the information that I have put forward here in the last couple of broadcasts and throughout all of What on Earth is Happening, please go up to gifts.whatonearthishappening.com and consider getting a physical gift that you can have for yourself or perhaps give to any of your loved ones or friends or acquaintances. These are all gifts, free gifts given in return for a personal donation to the work that we do here at What on Earth is Happening. Also, I really have been happy with people taking me up on the ARC offer. I sent out many ARCs this week. I was very busy copying ARCs this week. One day I did 6 ARC drives in one day on just an average day in the summer. That's great. That's fantastic. I'm very happy to see that. That shows me that some people, at least, want to go all the way in this understanding, and they're hungry for the knowledge. So thank you to the people who have taken me up on the ARC drive offer. The ARC is a 1 terabyte hard drive filled with all of the research material that I extracted from the vast repository of human knowledge known as the internet over the years, and what kind of has built the basis of my understanding of the world and helped me to get to the level of consciousness that I have been able to arrive at. And I will copy that information for free onto a hard drive that you send me. That's the offer. And, I ask for a personal donation for my time and effort that is not for the data that is collected, aggregated and collected and copied onto the ARC drive. It's just, a personal donation for the time and energy and work that I put into this effort. So you can go to whatonearthishappening.com/ARC or click the ARC tab or button on the whatonearthishappening.com site to get to fill out the form and then be contacted to get the PDF document about what you would need to do to receive the ARC drive. thousands of people have now taken me up on this offer, and I hope thousands more will. And you can copy it for whoever you want. It's an open-ended offer. You can pass it right along to anybody that you know who wants it in any form that you wish to do so. So that is the ARC Drive offer. And finally, if you want to make a straight donation to the cause of What on Earth is Happening, you can do that by clicking the donate tab or button, or going straight to whatonearthishappening.com/donate. There are now, I believe, 11 ways to donate. On the gifts area, we have those new t-shirts up. My producer just reminded me about that. So go up and get one of these great new What on Earth is Happening t-shirts. I don't really do let me get it in there. I don't really do a whole lot of promotion. I just figure, I want to reiterate this stuff because, some people don't know that this stuff is out there. And every little bit helps, folks, because, you do need resources to do this, and, I don't make much here, okay? I make enough to stay afloat and have food, shelter, clothing, some minor amount of entertainment for myself, so I don't go crazy, and to continue to do this work and have the resources that I need to do it in the form of technology, etc. So there's many ways that you could donate. There's like 6 cryptocurrencies up there, 5 or 6. You could do PayPal. You could donate and be a monthly contributor through my Patreon page. This is something that I think a lot of people, can take me up on. You can go over to patreon.com/Mark Passio, okay, and become a monthly contributor on Patreon. You can donate through traditional means like cash, check or money order. Well, just check or money order, not cash through the mail, but check or money order by mail. And then you could donate supplies through our Amazon wish list. And if you look at it right now, it's empty. And that's because people have taken me up on that offer, and anything that I have put on that Amazon wish list, people have purchased. That's very humbling. I very much thank people for doing that, because every little bit of those tech donations help as well. So when a need is here and I need it to fulfill something that I need to do as part of this work, and I throw something up on that tech list and you purchase it for me, it's one of the best ways that you can help and contribute, and you know exactly where your donation is going at that point. So that's all insofar as what I wanted to cover as far as, post presentation announcements in ways that you can help and contribute with the effort here at What on Earth is Happening. And for everyone who has donated and contributed to this cause, thank you from the bottom of my heart and the heart of all of our staffs here at What on Earth, of the staff here at What on Earth is Happening. Thank you very, very much. All right, folks, with that said, let me get my headphones on, and we're going to take your calls for the duration of this show. And, I'd say let's try to keep it to the concept of the tarot as a revelation and an indicator of personal progress in our society as individuals and in our society. I think that this topic warrants sort of keeping to that general, topic insofar as call-ins, comments, questions. Let's try to keep it to the material over the last 2 weeks. Maybe before Anarchadelphia, I'll do a few call-in shows that are just absolutely anything you want to talk about, because that'll take some pressure off of me designing stuff before I have to really hone in and get my presentation slides and my workshop slides the way I want them. So maybe we'll do a few call-in shows. I think next week we're going to do a show where I'm going to give an extended existing presentation of Tesla and humanity's missing paradigm shift. That's coming up next week. I'm going to do an extended presentation, maybe all 3 hours. Maybe we'll do calls, maybe not. We'll see how it goes. I'll do an extended What on Earth is Happening TV broadcast of Tesla and humanity's missing paradigm shift, since I only got like 15 minutes to do it at the Tesla conference. They have a whole lot of speakers at the Tesla conference in New York. So I'll take my time and really unpack Tesla and humanity's missing paradigm shift right here next week. So let's go to your calls. Let's see who's in the queue here. All right. My mouse has stopped working. I think I need to plug it in. I'm going to have to use the trackpad. So let's go to... let's get somebody new in here. Let's go to Human Patriot. Human Patriot? You are live on What on Earth is Happening, episode number 218. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you
Hey,
for calling in.
Is there any way you can come back to me? I started driving while I was listening, and I'm going to be done here in about 5 minutes.
Not a problem if that's your preference. I will do that, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it. I'll make sure to get back to you. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Saheed Miller. I'm going to try to get some new people in. Saheed Miller, you are live on What on Earth is Happening, episode 218. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Doing pretty well. I'm a little bit fired up this week, but I have been over the last several weeks. But in general, as far as presenting this type of information, I feel good about it. I feel like some people are getting it and going further in their understanding, and you're coming through loud and clear. I can hear you great.
Great. So, I remember the first time that you said the tarot was like a book, and
Yes.
I feel like, right after you said that, everything kind of clicked. Like it's a book of symbols and signs that you can
Yes.
kind of recognize in reality.
Yep.
And one of the big ones that I think is like the Fool card and the Hanged Man, and
Yes.
Awesome. But I was thinking,
they pictorially encoded it symbolically so that it would not be easy to censor. A book would be easier to censor because people all have access to the decoding of it, and then they say, oh, this is what he's saying. Let's burn this or get rid of this or block people from getting it. The tarot has survived down through the ages because of the encoding of that information. The problem is, in the modern day, we now have to properly decode it for others and get that information out there so that they can really understand what it means and how it is so powerfully transformative in the way that we can actually develop ourselves and help to change our entire society.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I also think sometimes like that reality itself basically already had that encoded. They just
Without a
basically took
doubt.
those images and identified them and put them into like a set. A set
That's
of
right.
things.
This is the tarot itself is discovery and revelation, so it's all stuff that is already there naturally, inherently as part of the very real world that we live in, and people want to just say, oh, this is all about just the development of the soul and wherever it's going to go next. No, it is about the here and now. And that has nothing to do, again, with attachment to the body, to the physical domain. This is about what the true one great work is here to do. Because how would you consider yourself spiritual if you're just about letting slavery continue endlessly and letting evil just rule people? We don't need this level of rulership and evil to learn the lessons that the whole spiritual domain has to teach us. It's unnecessary. And that's the whole idea, is that you only think that evil is necessary until you understand that it's not. And then you really start to try to do the work to truly take evil and slavery down and put them in the position that they belong in, as an understanding of potentiality of what can happen when we don't live according to natural law. You don't need to go into that state to understand that. That's like saying I absolutely need to go put my hand into that campfire to understand that it's hot and will burn me. That's ridiculous. That you don't need that level of direct experience to understand that lesson. And this is what many people who I think have taken occultism into too much of an elitist space, as far as Hermeticism may be concerned, believe has to occur. And in that sense, I don't agree with teachers like Blavatsky, who said, don't teach this stuff to other people. It's like throwing pearls before swine. I don't believe in elitist occultists or elitist Rosicrucians who say this is only knowledge for people who really want to seek it out. We have to put it out there so that it is heard just as much as the deceptions that people buy into and believe in are heard. That's what our work is to do as people who say we are truly aligning with true spirituality. Like, if you're not doing that and you think it's just for certain people or you think it's just for some afterlife domain, I don't think you've gotten what real spirituality is, personally. Okay? So, I just wanted to really incorporate that in today's program.
Yeah, I can understand that. I guess I could bring up about the Hanged Man. I feel like there's this blockage with a lot of people where, like, if you say like we are the Illuminati, and they actually co-opted it, right? If you go ahead and say that to somebody, they'll kind of instantly, attribute Illuminati, bad guy, you know.
Right.
There's like these tough bridges people have to kind of gap, kind of let go of some of their.
So it's the same unidimensional thinking and immediate bad thin slicing. As if anybody who's read Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, this term that he uses in the book, thin slicing, is proof of how bad people are detached from their intuitive aspects, from the sacred feminine intuitive understanding, where they can look at something and accurately gauge and garner what it means from thin slicing it, not delving into it deeply. And people think that they're good at it when they suck at it, when they have no ability to thin slice. So people will look at a post and go, oh, he wants me to answer this, when I never asked anybody to answer this question about what percentage. I don't care what you think your percentage of people who are morally good is. I'm not asking that question. I just can't remove that image if I post the link to that thread. I'm asking people to look at the comments, and they want to thin slice it and think they got it right and then quickly answer with a percentage when that's not anything that I'm talking about. Similarly, they'll hear, I'm the Illuminati, not the dark occultists of the world. I'm one of the Illuminati. Illuminati is a plural word, which means enlightened ones, okay? And I'll make the claim, yes, I am an enlightened one in this world of darkness, and so are many other people who understand what I have come to understand. We are the Illuminati. And then they'll hear it and insist that what they heard erroneously about what that term means, because someone absolutely incorrectly applied the term to evil people who think that they have the knowledge and they're the enlightened ones, but really all they have is the black sun. They have a twisted variant of knowledge that they're using as a weapon against others in their ignorance, okay? Are the truly enlightened ones. Call them the darkly illuminated ones, if you will. They have a certain level of knowledge. They have a certain level of enlightenment regarding how the knowledge of the occult can be used on other people as a weapon. Oh, they're enlightened about that. Most certainly. They know that very well. But are they truly spiritually enlightened? Absolutely not. So call them the dark Illuminati, at least. Like I call the bad occultists dark occultists, because the occult is not all evil or bad. It is just neutral knowledge, and it's how it's used. Well, we need to separate the true Illuminati from the dark Illuminati, you know, and understand that the illuminated ones are the good guys, not the bad guys. The bad guys are the darkly illuminated ones, the cult of the black sun, the dark Illuminati. Just qualify it. You know what I mean? Qualify it and make the distinction, at least if you're going to use that very inaccurate term. Right. I'm sorry, my producer is telling me we're not getting your audio in again. We had this issue last time. Let me just see if I can clear this up. And I'm not really sure why this is happening, folks. I'm not sure whether it's the Discord server itself, but I'm just going to briefly quit out of Discord. I apologize for the tech issue, and I'm going to reestablish my connection to Discord very quickly. So just give me a moment, and hopefully we can get this cleared up. All right. Let me go back to Sahid. Sahid, are you still with us? I can, but again, my producer's not having it. I'll repeat what you said. I hope we can clear this up. Maybe it's just happening with your line. But go ahead. Yes. So I'll repeat that. He's basically saying something that I talked about very in depth in my natural law seminar, saying that people are confusing their experience of reality or their perception with objective reality itself. And what I talked about in the natural law seminar is that we absolutely have to align our perceptions with reality. That's what our job is to do. The truth does not change. There's a great meme circulating on Facebook of a cylinder. Okay, and there's two light sources casted on the cylinder. Okay, and one of them is saying, that showing that the cylinder produces a square shadow when casted from the side, and one of them when casted from the top shows that the cylinder will produce a round shadow. And two independent observers, from depending on what side of the shadow they're looking at, what side of the cylinder they're at to look at the shadow, will insist that they know the truth. Okay, but what they're saying is that it is true that from this perspective, the cylinder casts a round shadow, and from another perspective, it is true that the cylinder casts a square shadow. But that is not the truth. The truth is that the cylinder exists as a cylinder, and two different light sources are casting two different types of shadows. Okay, that's the truth. That's not what is true from a perspective. See, that's what I'm trying to always explain. There's a difference between a perspective and whether it is completely invalid or whether it's even valid but is only one perspective, versus what the natural, inherent, objective truth actually is in nature. One of the biggest parts of my work has been to distinguish the actual real in nature and in the realm of reality versus the artificial and constructural that exists in the realm of perception. And people cannot seem to understand the distinction that I make between those two very important and completely different dynamics in our reality. Our goal, our work should be as individuals to become so aware and enlightened that we have aligned our perception as much of the time as we are capable of doing it while in the flesh suit called a human body to the actual objective inherent truth of reality, and not just talk about individuated perceptions of reality. One is real. That's the alignment with truth. The other is constructural and depends upon independent human perception of a thing. People really have to understand that all-important distinguishment that I have been trying to establish here from day one. And that's the difference between the inherent objective laws of morality, which are God's laws, natural law, versus the independent perception of morality that people think that they have and are not doing the work to actually align their perception to the objective. That's called moral relativism, moral relativity. Okay, so great caller. Thank you, Sahid. Let's continue on. Let's go to Spirit World. Spirit World, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show. All right, I'm going to stop you for one moment. We're still having a problem with audio coming through. So what I'm going to ask my producer to do is just set the source where the callers are coming in from to none or something else. Just if you set it to none, and then set the source where the callers are coming into back to the original. Note the original position in the production software, set it back to none, and then set it back to the original source, and let's see if that clears it up. In the source column, please. All right, say something, please. No, still not working. All right. It will be on the laptop source. I'd rather try to clear it up because the rest of the listening audience is not going to be able to hear your call, and I'm not really sure what is doing this. This is why we have to get off of Discord. It's proving not to be a reliable place for taking calls, unfortunately. I think there's too many features that are sort of still in their infancy or beta aspects, and it's something that does what I want for free, but it's also something that is presenting some problems for us. So let me if you go over to the left hand where sources are at, just take your time, okay? We'll get it done, and find where my laptop is at. Okay, now I want you to set the source back to nothing under where it says source. Once you've identified my laptop in the source. Let's do that. Let me know when that's done. I may have to control it remotely. Let me see if I can do this. All right, so give me a moment, folks. I'm going to try to do this on the fly. I apologize for this. I'll try to keep going as I do this. So I'm going to just connect to the production machine locally from my own laptop and try to see if I can resolve this from there. Tech issues are going to happen, and unfortunately, it's very difficult when they do happen on a call-in show, because when they happen on a call-in show, what happens is I haven't really prepared material past like where I'm at. I could like break something else open and just, do a different presentation. But what happens is when something like this happens during a call-in show, what occurs is either we fix the problem live on the fly, or the show kind of goes into a tailspin because we can't hear the callers live on the air. I could take a call where you're going to have to just very briefly get to the actual question, and then I'll repeat it and answer it off the air, and we'll take more calls that way. And that may be what we have to do, because it looks like this may be an internal issue that I am not going to be able to resolve. Do me a favor, mute my mic for a moment. Okay, let me know when my microphone is muted, because I want to tell you something off the air. Okay. Okay, no problem. All right, I'm going to give this another shot, folks, so we can actually hear your calls live. Hey, if it doesn't work, I'll just go off on some other, rant, tirade, or some other material that I can talk about on the fly. So I think it's worth the couple of minutes that it might take to just get it corrected. So let me just try that first. And if not, we'll do something else. Okay. Yeah, everything is against me today because I can't scroll. Do me a favor, scroll the left-hand column, please. I can't seem to scroll in the interface. Let me just come over there. Let's see if that corrects it. Okay, if the caller can just say something, I want to see if this corrects it. Yeah, we're still not getting you through. So I'm going to disconnect from here. Let's see if it reconnects. Oh, I hear you perfectly. The issue is not local. So what the caller is saying is that the recent shooting in Texas, I believe, happened on 8/3, or was this a different one? Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely some interesting symbology. A lot of there's a lot of interesting symbology that happens on dates when false flags occur. No doubt about it, because these people are all about symbolism. They are all about habit, repetition. They want to throw up into our faces just how much they are not only in control, but how much that they can put the symbolism of their belief system into our face, and yet the average everyday person is incapable of seeing it. They want that done on a perpetual basis. Okay? They, absolutely want to kind of tantalize and mock the bulk of humanity while they're actually ruling them and doing things to destroy their rights and their freedoms. The whole time they want to mock their ignorance of their master's belief system. Because the average everyday person knows nothing of any of this. They know nothing about how the real rulers of our society are dark occultists. They think it's all just, financial and political power that these people are looking for, when they don't understand that it's control over the soul. It's the actual destruction of the human soul that they want. And that's what they have largely accomplished. All you have to do is go and look at how soul dead the vast majority of all of secular society is. These people have no spirituality at all. They're obsessed with minutia. They're obsessed with, people are obsessed with like whether their car is parked out in front of their home. That's what they're worried about. They're obsessed with little rules and regulations. They want to have little petty power. They want to be petty tyrants over other people. That's what they're worried about. As opposed to whether people are free or not. They don't care about whether they're losing their rights. This is how ignorant and bullheadedly stubborn most people are. They'll get all upset when their football team loses or because they ran out of beer in their fridge. But, they won't get upset when their freedom of speech is being destroyed. Just because they don't care about who it's being taken from first. Oh, they'll get my freedom of speech last. They'll take people I don't agree with first. Yeah. And you think that makes it okay. So I apologize for the tech problems, folks, but, until we can figure out something better than Discord to take calls on, and people have a million different suggestions, but, no system really does it well. Skype you can't use because they don't really allow groups and allow you to just put everybody on the group on hold, until I take one. If it had that feature, I would probably use it. I don't want crosstalk in the form of chat or people talking to each other. I want them just listening to my voice in the server until I call on them, waiting in a call-in room. If anybody has software that can do that reliably and not as, totally messed up as Discord seems to do it. I like Discord's feature set, but I'm not impressed with its stability. So, but you get what you pay for, as they say. And, this is open source software. I don't know whether it's total open source, but it's free software, as in gratis. So, again, the people who all are, I should do a whole show on this, or a small spiel on this, is that you see free and open source software, unfortunately, sucks most of the time. I've talked about it before, but the developers don't have their act together. Very few developers do. And unless it's somebody being driven by high-level profit motive on a big team of some, soulless corporation, most people don't want to put the work in to actually develop something correctly. And it's a sad thing. I want to support free and open software, but at the same time, almost invariably, I end up using proprietary closed software because it's better. It does the fucking job better. I'd like to hear from some developers about that, because it's unfortunately true. And you can't get people motivated to actually be a part of a software team that makes great free open source software. There's tons of bugs in it. They don't really add or listen to many feature requests. It doesn't have the capabilities that proprietary software often does of the same caliber. And honestly, it's full of bugs. It's not as reliable. When you pay $500, $600, $700, $800, $1,000 to $5,000 for software, you usually get what you pay for. You usually get high quality, top-notch software developed by a legitimate software development team that has the bugs worked out. And I wish it weren't so. I wish that money weren't the only motivator for society. I wish that the improvement of our society, doing the right thing and improving ourselves and our society, were the motivator. But hey, this is where you could also see where the real motivating factors of a society are and why we're fucked. Why we're fucked in the way that we are and why we're losing our freedom. It's all part of it. It's all part of it, And that's just one of the dynamics as it plays out that, shows us where we're at, like the tarot does. All right, let's try another caller, see what happens. So let's go to Oscar. Oscar, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Neither one of us have him now. All right, let's try someone else. Let's go to Lokito. Lokito, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome. Yep. All right. Yeah, I'm going to... we don't have your audio coming through the stream, unfortunately, so I'm just going to ask you to very briefly ask a question. Let me repeat it, and then answer it. Or make a comment very, very briefly so that I can repeat it. But we want to try not to leave a whole lot of silence. So go ahead. Okay, no worries. All right, so I'm going to take the call of Face next. Face, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Let's briefly go to a comment or question, and I'll repeat it. Sure. Okay. So he's saying there are only 2 tarot cards that have the infinity sign on them, and they are? Yes. The Strength card and the Magician card, or in other words, courage and self-mastery. Okay? So absolutely, such important cards that they actually put the idea that once you develop this, you're not going to lose it. See? It's the idea that this is something that will go on and on and on, not only in your own lifetime, but perhaps carry over to future lifetimes. Okay? So the idea is you have to work on those aspects. The internal aspect of courage is what really sets us off onto a path of self-mastery once we develop the desire to learn, know, and to grow. And then we come to the courage card. Okay? So that is the base of the pillar of severity, which means internal self-work that eventually leads to self-mastery. Everything that goes against our self-work is a form of the failure of courage. So people not wanting to know, that's a failure of courage. People not wanting to do something in the world, that's a form of the failure of courage. This is one of the reasons that a lot of tarot decks have that reversal of the 8 and 11 cards, which I highly recommend is very bad news. You don't want to reverse those because that takes natural law down from the top of the position of the macrocosmic tree of life. But I understand why they think that that card is that important. Because if you don't have that courage, self-work doesn't really truly begin. And then, of course, the other card is self-mastery. It's like once you really achieve that, how can it be undone? How could you go backwards? You don't. It keeps going and going and going. It's sort of the gift that infinitely gives. Once you achieve that, that is something that has been done. Yes, there will be new challenges, but once you achieve that understanding of self, you will have it with you forever. So that's why it's so important to get off the floor of the house, get into a place of wanting to improve, and then start to work upon your courage. This is why so few people are doing the great work. You know, I mean, great question, Face. Your great, analysis of those cards, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. But the whole point here is this is why so much of the great work is not done, because people are cowards and have not developed true internal courage. You know, how many people know and stay silent? I'll guarantee you so many more people that we are aware of actually know this stuff. And you know what they do and say? Absolutely nothing. Because they're cowards. Deep in their hearts and in their souls, they haven't developed that all-important aspect of courage. You know? So this is month 8. We're in August right now. Okay? This is Leo time of the year. Okay? The card is card 8. We're talking about the importance of courage in relation to developing the self. Right? Let's let this month be about self-work regarding courage, which isn't demolishing all fear. It's not about never having any internal fear. That courage is an internal quality because what it's teaching you is develop yourself and do the work in spite of anything fearful you may be feeling internally. You know, that's what real courage is about. And most people don't want to do that. They want to stay silent. They want to stay, huddled under the staircase in the palace of the self. And it's one of the worst places to be because that fear will destroy you and it will put you in a place where you never really start doing the true great work. And that's why so few people will even make a YouTube with their face on it, their real name, and talk about something real. Very few people will do it. They won't put themselves out there. They won't put any skin in the game. They want to hide. I want to hide. I don't want to use my real name. I don't want to put my face up there. It ain't about your privacy. It's about because you're a fucking coward. That's all. You haven't developed the ability to say, I don't give a fuck who knows me, who sees my real name, who sees my face, who hears what I'm talking about. I'm saying it because it's true. How many people have that courage? A pissant handful is the answer. And am I angry about it? Yeah, you're damn right. Because that's why we're enslaved still. You and I are enslaved because of so few people that will speak out. Put their name on something and say, I'm not afraid of whatever anybody's going to do to me. I'm going to speak the truth and put it out there in the world for other people's consideration and learning and growth. And my humblest thanks to the people who do that. You're my peers and my brothers and sisters in this war. Okay? So, great call. Thank you to Face. Let's see who else we have. Let's go to Maven. Maven, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. And because we're not hearing callers this week, unfortunately, I'm just going to ask you to briefly get to your comment or question. Let me repeat it and then answer it when you're off air. Are you with us? Yes, I can. I can hear you loud and clear. Unfortunately, we're still not getting a connection out to the stream through Discord for some strange reason. But it's no worries. Just just hit me with your comment or question, and then I'll repeat on the stream. Yes, no worries. Okay. Thank you. The caller's telling me that he's calling from Israel, and there's not many people who know my work in his area in Israel, which is unfortunate. But do you have a comment or a question regarding the material, or do you just want to make any general comment? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. You were accidentally muted there, so just repeat that one more time. Yes, I can. Sure. So Maven's saying that he is trying to promote my work of natural law in Israel. I thank you for that. And he wants to go ahead and make a comment, so go ahead. Yes, I will take a look at them, because I do look at stuff like that. So what he's saying is that he's trying to do natural law by making videos on YouTube and then spreading them. And he sent me a few to look at to get my take on them. So I tell people, just go right ahead and do this type of stuff, because that's what is needed. You know, this is what we need, is more boots on the ground. We need more people who are actually doing the great work. Don't just look at Mark Passio videos. Okay, look at my stuff until you understand what the great work is to do, and then do it. Okay, this is what we need way more people doing. Okay, so, thank you very much, Maven, for doing that. So let's go on to someone else, and let's hear from Justice 11. Justice 11, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show. Yes, I can. So I'm going to ask again, just get quickly to your question or comment. See, I think it's very possible. So I can hear him and he can't hear me. I think it's quite possible that we may have hacker or hackers in the Discord server that know how to somehow target the server and cut out audio from the server end. I don't think there's enough security within Discord, and that's why I think we just have to implement our own system, like we have implemented, our own video system, streaming system. So, I'm going to just say, it's probably just a bad idea to continue with calls. It's going to interrupt the flow of the show. What I want to do is go back to talking about moral relativism in our society. So I'm quitting Discord, and calls are canceled for today. Maybe we could, do a whole call-in show at some point on the topic of tarot, but I'm not going to fight something that wants to basically take me off course for what I'm doing on the show. So we have like 40 minutes left in the show. So I'm just going to get into moral relativism. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that one of the worst places that I see moral relativism is in the freedom movement. And I want to talk about why that is. Okay. And I apologize to the callers in the Discord room that are, we're holding on to call. Essentially, it's a house of cards. Honestly, I like the idea of Discord, but the developers you're not good enough. That's all it really comes down to. Okay. You're not rock solid enough in what you've done with putting an app together there. And it's just a house of cards. That's it. And I wish I could say better and give you better comments and feedback, but in all honesty, it's kind of been a nightmare using it, and I want to get away from it. That's the honest answer. So, we're going to have to try to build something that works much more reliably than Discord, because it's not doing its job. Okay. So maybe I should steer away from call-in shows and don't even worry about making slides and just come on and fucking rant about things like moral relativism and the so-called freedom movement. Okay? Because this is the kind of stuff that's absolutely annihilating human freedom. And it's what I talk about in Anarchy and the Occult Part 1 and 2. All right, so, and you still have absolute know-nothing morons out there in our society that want to insist they're going to build a world based in freedom for humanity, believing what they believe and propagating it like they're propagating it on social media. And here, I'm going to just get deeply into why it is. Here's the real reason, okay? These are left-brained people who have discovered that religion, worldwide, any cultural religion that's operating in the world, especially the big organized ones, are such absolute crocks of total fucking shit garbage that they did what I did in the past. They saw it for the control system that it was, and they said, you know what? Fuck this shit. The answer must be, every single thing regarding spirituality must be a big crock of shit, just like this religion is that they're trying to sell me on as a control system. So what did they do? They turned around 180 degrees. They were heading this way. They turned around 180 degrees and they said, I'm going to go 180 degrees in this direction. And you know whose arms they ran into? They ran into the same people that invented the religious cult belief systems that they saw as a total crock of bullshit. Because they're over here at this extremity of the dialectic, and they're over here at this extremity of the dialectic. Okay? Over here, they're called the dark occultists, who are behind the scenes of organized religion and who run all of the higher level, elitist, established world religious leaders. And then when these people saw this is a big crock of shit, they turned around, they went this way, and they said, I'm now an atheist. I'm a scientific, materialistic atheist. And then they ran headlong into the same people who control the dialectic from the other end. That's exactly what they did. So they said, fuck all spirituality, okay? Fuck the idea of any higher power in creation that sets law into effect in the universe regarding behavior, not just physical matter. And they ran in the other direction into the other set up dialectic that was set up for that purpose. If you don't get caught in this net, you're going to go over here and get caught in this net. And they're too stupid to see it. Quite frankly, you are too stupid to see it. Left-brained, jackass, materialist, Newtonian physics and dynamics people who think that's all there is when that scientific paradigm has been proven wrong for over 100 years and you're not privy to the new science that proved it incorrect. You don't want to look at any of the new science that has proven consciousness is real and the ultimate factor in everything. And that doesn't mean it's just we can make reality whatever we feel like making it by just changing how we look at it, like the whole kind of double slit experiment. It doesn't mean that at a macro level. Okay, so at a micro level, you can say that observation changes the actual effect that we witness, and a wave can become a particle based on observation. But that's just talking about aligning our perception to the reality at a macro level. It doesn't mean you just say, oh, I think that the universe is a wonderful place and it magically that the earth is a wonderful place and it magically becomes that. Action is required. There are requirements for changing our actual manifested reality. And that requirement is aligning our perception of objective morality to the truth of objective morality. It means knowing there's an objective difference between right and wrong in creation that was put there by the creator of the universe, which is not you, which is not human beings, which is not any man or anything that they can do. And you don't have to look at that religiously. I don't understand why it's so hard to get out of this dialectic of religion versus atheism. Both of them are wrong. Both of them are incorrect. One's a right brain form of imbalance, and one's a left brain form of imbalance. You're not at a place of mental and spiritual balance when you believe in either of those religions. The cultural world religions of whatever bullshit religion you believe in, whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Taoism, any of it. It's all religious crock of shit that doesn't go all the way to understand true natural law. And then atheism is another religion. That's the catch-all religion to catch all the people that don't go into this big net over here. Why are these infantile fucking babies so hard-headed, so thick-skulled and imbalanced in their mental makeup that you can't understand these dialectics were set up for you by social engineers that existed thousands of years before your fucking birth? Why? Because your ego is in the way. You can't admit you were duped. You can't admit that you're wrong and that you are governed by natural law. You're not God. You're not the creator of the laws of reality. And that is not a religious statement. There is nothing religious in the understanding of natural law. It is not a belief system or a religion. Never has been, never will be. You can say it's that all you want and will never fucking make it true. Fucktards out there who insist that's what it is. Because that's what you are. You're people who think you're God and think that man is God. That's what you think. And that you can make up what right and wrong are, and they're subjective opinions. And then, but see, I don't even care. Go and think that. Don't think that you can think that way and be free. Freedom, true freedom, is hinged upon whether our behavior conforms to whether we are harming or not harming other sentient beings, meaning whether the behavior is moral or immoral. That's what freedom hinges and depends upon. A society who doesn't bring its objective behavior into alignment with objective morality can never create true freedom in their society. And that's what you're insisting can be done. You insist, absolutely insist, that real freedom can be created while in a state of moral relativism. So, as a matter of fact, let's go to Aquinas on Liberty. I'm going to read it. That's what we can do. So give me a moment. I'll pull it up. Since I wasn't prepared to go right into this, just give me a moment to pull it up. And, you know, this is what we'll have to deal with, folks, when there's an issue. Because I don't set up alternative stuff. I don't set up alternative guests and things like that, people to bring on, okay? I am basically doing the show on the fly. I probably should set up some type of an alternative broadcast if tech problems occur, but I haven't done that today. So it'll be what it is, you know? All right. All right, I found that I'm bringing it up, and I'm going to ask you to cut over to it momentarily. All right, cut over to it. Sorry. Now, see, yeah, we have bad problems here because this is completely frozen, and now I can't even bring the essay up. So let's try this one more time. Hold on. I'll tell you when. So what's going to happen is we have to find where this cable is plugged in, and we're going to have to detach it and reattach it. Try it one more time to go back full screen. Yeah, we're stuck. So, don't leave that up. So, trace this cable, and then attach it, detach it from the source, and then reattach it from the source. So, at this point, I can't even show anybody what I have on my laptop screen because we have a complete disconnect, first in audio, now in video, from what is displayed on the laptop. So, I'll just start, and when my producer can get that straightened out, we'll switch over to my laptop. But this is the Aquinas on Liberty essay. As long as we abide in partial darkness, we will continue to be conquered. So this is what the freedom movement thinks that we can do. The freedom movement thinks you can stay at a place of total unconsciousness regarding how the laws of freedom work. I think you might have it there, okay? And somehow magically, no, I'd switch it from the source again, where the laptop source is at. Try that. The bulk of the freedom community, so that switched it here. So now switch it in software. If you switch it in software next, I think that'll correct it, and we'll at least be able to get this on the screen. It looks like it went back. So cut it to none, then back to the original. Note the original. Just cut it back over. Yeah, just close that, whatever that is, and then cut it back over to the original. To the laptop. Let's see if it's up. No. So what you have to do is go to where it says laptop in the source, and then change that to none. Note where it's at, and then change it back to where it was originally at. All right, so I'm not going to continue to try to get into that. Let's just continue with the essay. The freedom movement believes that it can continue to exist in a state of spiritual unconsciousness because they don't think there is any. They're atheists who believe that there's no such thing as consciousness and spirituality. This is what's killing the freedom movement. Atheists are killing the freedom movement. And I told you I'm going to get harder and harder core on atheists because you're unteachable fucktards is what you are. Okay? Let's just get hardcore in your fucking face about it. All right? That's what you are. You think freedom is going to be generated somehow accidentally by the will of man who thinks that he can determine what right and wrong is for himself. You believe that shit. And I'm trying to explain to you, you will be forever fucking enslaved with that mindset. You cannot be anything but forever enslaved by that mindset. Atheists are destroying the freedom movement. You're sending it backwards. You left brain imbalanced fucktards. Okay? Right and wrong is not determined by human beings. It is objective, based upon the behavior and whether it causes harm or not in the objective reality in which we live called the physical domain. And this is what people will not tell these people. You want to be all soft and dance around their bullshit. And you won't get up in their face and say, no, you're not the arbiter of truth and right and wrong. That's the whole idea. This is what Christians don't understand. You're so fucked up with your religion, you don't even understand what your allegories mean. In Christianity, the idea of to eat of the knowledge of the tree, to eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is an allegory. It doesn't mean to go pick a fucking fruit off a tree, dunce. It means you shall not be the arbiter of what is right and wrong for yourself. That is God's fucking tree. That's the creator, the lawmaker's tree. Don't eat of it, but to eat of that fruit means to become the arbiter of what is right and what is wrong, the knowledge of good and evil. It doesn't mean that you just disobeyed an order not to pick fruit off of a tree. You think that's what this allegory fucking means, imbecile? It means don't become the arbitrator of the knowledge of good and evil. To eat of that fruit. That's what it means. And jerk off Christians don't understand that. Because they don't know natural law. You've been convinced. They've been convinced that the 7 deadly sins of pride, gluttony, sloth, lust, anger, jealousy, and greed are the real deadly sins when they are vices at best. I agree, laziness is definitely one of the true sins of consciousness. When we don't act, once we have right knowledge. Pride, gluttony, sloth, these are all things that are, though, internal failings or vices. The real 7 deadly sins are the transgressions against natural law: murder, assault, rape, theft, trespass, coercion, and willfully lying. To hold the truth back from somebody. Coercion, to rob them of their free will choice, which is the gift of the creator of the universe, and not for anyone to steal. Through coercion and the slavery of man's law. Continuing with this essay, if we looked very closely at the idea of liberty, we would discover that there is a radical distinction between true human liberty and liberty falsely so called. So there's a real form of freedom, and then there's something that fucking morons think of as freedom that has absolutely nothing to do with real freedom. This is what he's saying. Indeed, liberty falsely so called is that same liberty which the New World Order qualifies as, quote, the bait of an idea to attract the masses of the people to one's party for the purpose of crushing another who is in authority. In other words, divide and conquer, Hegelian dialectic, controlled opposition. They want you to think of their brand of freedom as being the answer so that they can conquer another party's brand of freedom, their version of freedom that other idiots think is the answer, when neither one of them is the path to freedom. And as an idea of freedom which is really an infection, and as a slackening of the reins of government. It's not only an infection, it's the virus. It's a mind virus. This false notion of freedom. And you know what? There's a huge false notion of freedom going around in the freedom movement. There's a couple of them. There's one that thinks that freedom means no rules. Because they say, oh, that was in that, if you go further into the comments on that asininity parade on the Free Thought Community Project comments on that guy's quote about post about morality. They go into that, They go into, oh, well, who would make the rules in a society that has rules in it? The universe, God, nature, natural law, not man. The higher power that ultimately put those laws of the behavioral consequences in effect, just like it put all the physical laws into effect, and you're not that force. That's who puts rules into effect. There are always rules under natural law. When we're talking about rules, not rulers, we're talking about natural law. Those are the only rules in effect. Where does the idea of false liberty come from? What is false liberty? What is true liberty? Knowledge of the correct answers to these questions is still lacking in the bulk of the so-called patriot movement. And to the degree that it is lacking, so is integral unity and true power to overcome the menace to our freedom. You hear what this individual is saying? Understand it. Until the patriot movement unifies itself under true philosophical principles, it will win only apparent victories while the satanic New World Order continues its long march to global domination. And let me tell you something, folks. This person posted this essay long before I did my natural law seminar and long before I even did my smaller presentation, audio presentation with slides that I posted to What on Earth is Happening audio podcast. So this person understood natural law before I delved into it on the show, which shows that he's probably an occultist who knows the real deal about how the law of freedom works. True liberty is the highest of natural endowments. An endowment is a birthright given to us by the creator of the universe. That he's a natural endowment, comes from nature or God. And again, you know what, folks? I'm going to start using the word God a lot more because I want to piss off the atheists because you're total imbeciles and you're destroying your freedom and ours. Because you refuse to acknowledge that a higher power than you exists in creation and that you are not the lawmaker and man is not the lawmaker. That's why we're enslaved. That's why we're in a situation of total slavery. And for as long as you continue to think that way and the bulk of society continues to think that way, human beings in the aggregate as a society will remain slaves. Get over it, crying your fucking milk about it. Nothing you do or say will ever make it untrue. So you can fucking do whatever, say whatever you want about me and my attitude about it. It will still remain the truth. And it has nothing to do with that I said it. I am one of the few who has discovered the truth regarding this dynamic. There's nothing special about me because I did. The only thing that makes me any special is I'm not as fucking retarded as the people that refuse to understand it. True liberty is the portion only of intellectual or rational natures, and it confers on man this dignity, that he is in the hands of his counsel and has power over his actions. But the manner in which such dignity is exercised is of the greatest moment, inasmuch as on the use that is made of liberty, the highest good and greatest evil alike depend. Man indeed is free to obey his reason, to seek moral good, and to strive unswervingly after his last end. That is free will. Yet he is free also to turn aside to all other things, and in pursuing the empty semblance of good, to disturb rightful order, and to fall headlong into the destruction which he has voluntarily chosen. Again, free will. You want to try one more time to go over to the laptop? Or are we still stuck? Yeah, we're still stuck. Worse still are those who promote a false and absurd notion of liberty by perverting the idea of freedom or extending it to things in respect of which man cannot rightly be regarded as free. The Declaration of Independence states as follows: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And it should say created equal under natural law. This gives people the idea that we're all the same. That they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights which they can never be separated from. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And pursuit of happiness should have been property. Life, liberty, and property, because all rights are property rights. Sad to say, this is a very ambiguous and therefore dangerous proposition, as it is subject to any number of conflicting interpretations. Indeed, the proof of its weakness is the young age of the total collapse of the American Republic. Obviously, that clause has not been interpreted properly. If it had been, we would not have devolved into barbarity in less than 250 years. It can be argued that the American Republic was built on Freemasonic sand, and it was. And thus, if we are going to rebuild it, we might want to recodify our foundational principles. Yeah, and bring them into harmony with true natural law, true esoteric Freemasonic, true esoteric Christian, true esoteric Rosicrucian, true esoteric Kabbalistic teachings. Not bullshit, degraded teachings of any religion, occult order, mystery tradition, etc. In order for America to throw off its internationalist oppressors or the globalists, a proper understanding of natural human liberty in the minds and hearts of the American people is indispensably necessary. For we the people have been brought low in our consciousness and have been rendered soft and vulnerable as the direct result of having imbibed and believed in a false notion of liberty and the pursuit of happiness, an erroneous pursuit of happiness, as a natural endowment given to human nature by God, the omnipotent creator of the universe. Liberty must exist for an end or ultimate purpose. Yeah, that is evolution, the progression in consciousness of all life. And thus this end must be identical to the essential determination and composition of human nature, which is rational. For example, intellectual and volitional, voluntary. The end or object of both the rational will and of liberty is that good only which is in conformity with reason. The atheists, they think they have reason. They think they have true intellectual capacity. You're dumb little boys. You're dumb little girls. You don't have true reason. You don't have true reason in hand. If you did, you would understand where true freedom comes from, and you don't. Not even a little bit. You're not as smart as you think you are, punk boy, punk bitch. You're not as intelligent as you think you are, just because you've rejected the idea of a higher power. Actually, it's made you totally fucking stupid. And it's made you contribute satanically with your satanic masters to the destruction of human freedom. And I'm a little upset about that, because you're destroying my freedom in the process. And you're making me have to stay in this shithole longer than I have to. Called Earth. Called the prison called Earth. For the proper object. Okay, so sorry, hold on. Liberty belongs only to those who have the gift of reason or intelligence. This is what I've said repeatedly about natural law. It applies to beings with the capacity for true holistic intelligence, not to the animal kingdom, the lower animal kingdom, lower than human beings. Continuing, animals do not possess liberty. Considered as to its nature, it is the faculty of choosing means fitted for the end proposed. They don't have liberty in the sense that we could acquire it, because they don't have the intellectual and moral capacity that human beings do. They should, however, be free not to be accosted and have their lives taken from them without right, because they own their lives. I'll add that. Considered as to its true nature, it is the faculty of choosing means fitted for the end proposed. In other words, align what you're going to do with what you say you want. That's what that means. For he is master of his actions who can choose one thing out of many. Freedom of choice is therefore the essential property of the human will. That's right, free will. That's why it's called free will. But the will cannot proceed to act until it is enlightened by intellectual knowledge. This is called conscience. Knowing the objective difference between right and wrong behavior is the intellectual knowledge of conscience. Conscience, to know together. All together to know what the actual objective difference between right behavior and wrong behavior actually is. And that it is objective, not subjective. Not prone to the interpretation of our will, whims, wishes, desires, etc. For the proper object of the will is the good. This is what it means to love under will. Nothing can be desired by the will unless it is judged by the intellect to be a good. Thus, in all voluntary acts, choice is subsequent to an intellectual judgment that something is good or desirable. Meaning, we have to understand what is good, meaning freedom is good and slavery is bad. Right behavior is good and wrong behavior is bad, because one creates freedom and one creates enslavement. And those are objective principles that exist in nature, and we can only discover them and align our behavior to them or not. The will is referred to as the appetitive power of the soul, or the rational appetite. Like the intellect, the will is a spiritual faculty. Again, something that atheists don't understand, because they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. They've thrown true spirituality out with bullshit religion, and think that they're so wise for having done so, when they're totally fucktarded for having done so. It is that power through which an individual seeks to execute an act or attain to an object proposed to it by the intellect. The object of the will is always the good. And even in the election of evil, it must be proposed to the will under the appearance of good. That's why they try to convince people who vote that they're doing good for society. You can't just say, well, hey, vote so that you bring in more totalitarian control and more government. People have to be convinced that they're doing good, which is proof that they're not really totally evil at their essence. They've been convinced by mind control that they're doing good when in fact they're doing evil. This is the job of the social engineers. But don't make excuses for people that don't want to learn when the information's out there. That's a willful choice not to correct that error. Anything chosen as a means is therefore viewed under some aspect of goodness. Therefore, because, here's the crux of it, this is the law of freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, because in all voluntary acts, choice is subsequent to a judgment upon the truth of the good presented, declaring to which good preference should be given. It is an immutably true principle, meaning unchangeable, that human liberty depends entirely on intellectual judgments that conform to reason and the natural law. If a judgment which does not conform to the natural law or to reason, and which is therefore objectively false and immoral, is acted upon by the will, then it is a source of grave disorder in society. Exponentially multiply the number of individual immoral acts, and you have a republic that collapses from moral decay in a short period of time. That is the law of freedom. As aggregate morality under natural law increases, aggregate freedom increases. And as more and more people do not understand natural law, where it comes from, how it functions, how our free will depends upon whether our behavior is in alignment to it or not, we become collectively enslaved as a society, as a species. Continuing, we have a couple minutes left. Hedonism, or the tyranny of the passions, has no place in the well-ordered man or in the well-ordered civilization. Unfortunately, our elitist overlords have long been at dumbing us down to the level of beasts that cannot employ their natural, rational endowments, but only their carnal lusts. This is the idea that this is just a society which you should just live for your base pleasures. That's Satanism. We allowed this to happen to us because we mistakenly believed in the lie that they told us, namely that true liberty is the quote-unquote right to do whatever we want. That is not the true will. That is the false will. True will, our true right, is to align our behavior with the objective moral good of creation. That means knowing which behaviors are right because they do not cause harm to other sentient beings, and knowing definitively and objectively which behaviors are wrongs because they do cause harm to other sentient beings. And that knowledge is unfortunately not present in the bulk of humanity, and that's why we're enslaved. And we are taught to believe life is all about just pleasure pursuit and doing whatever we want. So he said, we've mistakenly believed the lie they told us. They've given us their satanic mindset that true liberty is the right to do whatever we want, whenever we want, as long as it is not illegal or discoverable. True liberty, not this false version of liberty that the Satanists have told us is real liberty. True, natural liberty is an essential property of objective truth and morality. Therefore, there can be no true liberty in a civilization that embraces moral relativity, moral relativism. Can never be, cannot exist. And yet, what I just showed you in that Facebook post and asked you to read the comments, not to answer the question that was posed by the original poster, but to read the comments on it on my Facebook, shows you that even people in the freedom movement that think that they want freedom, that say that they want freedom, are moral relativists and can never produce that result in human society. So imagine where the dumb masses of humanity's minds are actually at. That's what the great work is to do, to change. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time that we have for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. I apologize for the technical problems, but this kind of stuff happens. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lot, and we'll see you right here next week, in which I'm going to go into an extended version of Tesla and humanity's missing paradigm shift in consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. We'll see you right here next week.